glad you're here and welcome. Would you please rise for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much again, and God bless America. Pastor Ken's here to deliver our news prayer.
All right. Let's pray, shall we? Our Father and our God, we come before you, and once again we thank you for our township. We thank you for its citizens. We thank you for this land that you've given us to call home. God, we ask you to put your hand upon our supervisors tonight. We thank you for their time and their talent that they give to this community. They're tirelessly, Lord, so we appreciate them. We just ask you to put your hand upon them, guide them. Be with us as a community as we work together for the good of this whole town. We thank you, Lord, for what you're doing. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to roll call.
Ms. Baylor?
Here.
Ms. Dupree?
Here.
Mr. Eskin? Not here. Mr. Lawson?
Here.
Mr. Traxton? Absent. Okay.
Okay, proof of publication for tonight's meeting.
Confirmed.
Okay, so can we move to public comment? Mr. Oposki? I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't know. Okay, Mr. Oposki, please.
My name is Joe Raposki. I live at 155 Laws Run Road. Question I have for the board is, this permit that EQT wants for the Saris pad, is this permit holding them to the Marcellus only because that's what they're drilling? Or are you giving them a permit to go from the surface to the center of the earth, drill any formation they want? That's what I want to know.
We don't govern that portion. This is a land use for conditional use to build a drill pad on the surface of this property. The layers of underneath the ground, that's all based upon the lease that EQT would have with the various landowners. We have no issue or jurisdiction over that. We don't give approvals for that.
Well, if they're drilling Marcellus and then they want to go into the Utica, which got twice as much gas, the township could make more money if they charged them again for the Utica. That's why I was asking.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Safco?
Yes. Darla Savco, 68 Aber Road, Finleyville, PA. I just wanted to say that through all this, and we've been coming here and speaking public comments, I'm just disappointed that I'm not hearing anything about, like, anything about us and our health and well-being with all this drilling. There's no comments. There's nothing. I mean, I want to hear that from the people that represent me. I want to hear that you're concerned about our health and our safety. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Okay, there's another public comment.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Heaven Sensky. I'm the organizing director with the Center for Coalfield Justice, and we've been working with residents in Union Township and representing members of ours that live here. In the past week, I can confirm that at least 21 residents that live in Union Township have submitted a letter with 6 additional conditions that they're asking for in relation to the Sarah well pad. I'm going to go through those. Excuse me. The Center for Coalfield Justice is a nonprofit organization centered in Washington, Pennsylvania, dedicated to protecting the public and environmental health of residents in southwestern Pennsylvania. As such, and on behalf of our members, we are acutely aware of the impacts caused by oil and gas development and the need to address those impacts adequately. Residents living near the proposed Sarah well pad have raised concerns about the proposed development and operation of the site. CCJ believes that these concerns can be addressed efficiently and cost effectively by both the Board of Supervisors and EQT. Article 1, Section 27 of the Pennsylvania Constitution means something very tangible and real to people across the Commonwealth. It protects inherent rights that are essential to life. The text of Article 1, Section 27, identifies two distinct yet related fundamental rights and corresponding duties. The first inherent and indefeasible right guarantees clean air, pure water, and the preservation of the natural, scenic, historic, and aesthetic values of the environment. The second grants common ownership to all the people of Pennsylvania's public natural resources. The final clause of the Environmental Rights Amendment creates a trust designating the Commonwealth and all its subdivisions, including Union Township, as the trustee, the natural resources of the Commonwealth composing the trustees, and all the people in future generations as the beneficiaries. Union Township's duties as a trustee requires the conservation and maintenance of the corpus of trust, the public natural resources of the Commonwealth. The plain meaning of the terms conserve and maintain implicates a duty to prevent and remedy the degradation or depletion of our public natural resources. The Commonwealth, including Union Township, has a further duty to, quote, act towards the corpus of the trust with prudence, loyalty, and impartiality. Put more simply, the Board of Supervisors must act to conserve and maintain public natural resources in a prudent, loyal, and impartial manner. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court has been clear. The protection of environmental values is a quintessential local issue that must be tailored to local conditions, as requested by those 21 residents via letters, and I'm sure more folks that are here today. The court has also stressed the importance of having a strong evidentiary record and instructed townships to make well-reasoned decisions about how the oil and gas industry will be regulated at the local level. That's why we're here. A well-reasoned decision requires a pre-decisional analysis, including careful consideration of public input about the residents' expectations regarding a particular zone district and the impacts of oil and gas development on public natural resources, i.e. private water sources, air quality. Section 27 requires a pre-action analysis capable of informing the township on whether degradation is likely to incur, which necessarily entails understanding local conditions and using scientific data and analysis. The Board of Supervisors previously heard testimony related to flooding in and along Lobbs Road and an unnamed tributary which flows into Lobbs Run. According to EQT's application materials, the primary stormwater controls utilized on the Sarah well site are 2 managed release controls and 1 detention pond. The receiving streams are a UNT, an unidentified tributary, right, to Lobbs Run. And although EQT concludes that the stormwater control practices described in the application will reduce stormwater runoff, EQT does not acknowledge the existing flooding in the receiving streams. As a result, it is unclear whether EQT considered the existing flooding in its modeling. And the Board of Supervisors must ensure that EQT's construction and operation of the Sarah well pad will not exacerbate existing flooding, problems on Lobbs Run, or its tributaries. Any defensible pre-action analysis necessarily starts with acknowledging the existing local conditions, like flooding, that residents have cited in their concerns. The Board of Supervisors cannot make an informed decision regarding the environmental effects of its actions if it does not have an adequate understanding of what those effects are or will be. Likewise, the board cannot be said to have acted with prudence when it acts on speculative or incomplete information. A trustee's discretion does not extend to decisions based on speculation. This is because, of course, speculation on the part of the trustee demonstrates negligence in being ignorant of the facts which ordinary intelligence would have disclosed to him, or if known, in not exercising his best judgment upon them, him as in the board in general. Indeed, the Supreme Court has remarked that the trustee's fiduciary duties do not equate to mere subjective judgment. Nearby residents have raised other concerns about noise, air emissions, truck traffic, and potential impacts on private drinking water supplies. We encourage the Board of Supervisors and EQT to work with these residents to address their concerns. EQT prides itself on being a community partner. Particularly considering the past issues at the Trax well pad, EQT has now had an opportunity to demonstrate how it plans to communicate with nearby residents and protect measures like appointing 1 or 2 EQT employees as the primary community contact for the Sarah well pad going forward. This would go a long way to increase community confidence that EQT will be responsive to community questions and concerns for the Sarah well pad. We encourage EQT and the board to explore other creative and cost-effective solutions that would address residents' concerns and questions. We know that they have placed an additional condition as of the last meeting that would allow residents within 3,000 feet to have testing of their private water supplies before fracking and 60 days after. In our ask to the board, it was asked that they extend that to be a little more specific of what constitutes fracking operations. Will they continue to test when they come back to continue to drill? What happens if the water is contaminated? What is EQT going to do? What do they have to follow in the guidelines of providing water to those residents? And the other ask was that they support an air monitoring program of some sort that is similar to what Range Resources has committed to some residents in Cecil Township, not far from here. And the third ask was that we did see the additional condition around the emergency response plan. That was great. But residents are hoping that with the help of the board and EQT, that there can be some sort of reverse 911 system in place so that if there is an emergency, that residents get some sort of message immediately that is in place ahead of time, especially given the issues around ambulance services here. And so I invite you to please review those letters and look at those conditional asks. They are reasonable. The residents are not trying to stop the well pad or ban it from happening. They're just asking for some conditions in place that are reasonable enough to protect their families. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Alrighty, moving on to department report, chairperson report. I do have something real quick. At the last meeting, there was a public comment, and it had a lot of points to it that needed to be addressed. And I wanted to start off with saying, a lot of the times during public comment, the board and the solicitor office remain silent, because that's the time for our public to speak. It's their opportunity to voice their concerns on the issues that are on the agenda. It's prudent for supervisors and staff to not interrupt a public member. However, when we're being pressed for answers on questions that we have not researched or we don't have accuracy on, we remain silent. And we feel that's in the best interest of the township until we get our facts and present answers that make sense and are correct, true and correct. Unfortunately, a lot of allegations are made, oftentimes in some of these public comments, and the statements that are being made are simply not true. And it's to a detriment to all of us sitting up here. Our personal reputations are always at stake, and it's usually followed by social media posts, which are equally as damning, and we're forced to have to answer that, whether here or elsewhere, and we will be doing that. But for the purposes of this meeting, for the purposes of brevity, I do want to touch upon a comment that was made at the last public, and unfortunately most of the public left after the issues that they were interested in on the agenda were over, so they never heard the truth. So one of the comments were that the board had never, the resident says, "Can you tell me why I cannot find meeting minutes that authorize sweat law offices and the board to commit to hiring Braybender Cox?" So I can't answer why that person couldn't find them in the minutes, but they are in the minutes. And it was September 17th of 2020, motion to authorize sweat law offices to enter into professional service agreement with Braybender Cox to render consulting services for website design, community outreach, and social media management. We were pressed further on questions on how did that benefit the township taxpayer. Well, I can answer that at the time we hired that firm, it was under the direction of a team of attorneys that none of us here wanted. We were sued in federal court, all personally, and as a township. Individual professionals were all sued in court. And it has cost the taxpayer hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the information thus far is we've won in court several times. It's now at the Third Circuit, and as things develop, the township taxpayer will be informed. And I've promised that, and as these lawsuits come to a close, you will be informed of everything, including some of these decisions, which were at the time being guided by attorneys. Because none of us here were ever sued federally by a pro se litigant or in state and federal court at the same time. So we needed professionals to guide us. Additionally, there was questions regarding the spending of $58,000 for a property, and it was the Banahaskey property, and there was a client trust account that our solicitor had opened for purposes of this property. Now, this property was being looked at by Union Township Board for Mingo Mingo sewage. We are constructing under DEP consent, something that should have been done decades ago, but we are in the planning, almost to the planning stages of financing of a $3 to $4 million sewage project for the residents of Mingo. And it should have been done again years ago. It's an awful living condition up there. And as part of that planning process, the Banahaskey property was the property that the DEP had picked to put a package plant that we are going to be constructing this year or the next year. Attorney Sweat's office had to open up a client trust fund for this purpose, and I'm going to turn over to Attorney Sweat so he can explain to the residents what exactly happened there.
As Mrs. Dare indicated, we're under a consent order with the DEP to solve the sewage problems in and around Mingo Circle, and it affects 50-plus homes. That consent agreement indicates that if we do not diligently and vigorously proceed with that project, that this township will be faced with fines in excess of $245,000. That's how serious the DP is about solving that problem and requiring that we solve it, no matter what the cost. So the initial design that has to be approved by the DEP called for a package plant to be installed on property owned by Mrs. Banahaskey. That was the property that was cited. That was the property that was certified by DEP. And so our job is to continue with the requirement of installing the sewage system. And the first order of business was to negotiate a purchase of the property. It was about a half acre, and it was right next to Mrs. Banahaskey's home. She was adamant that she did not want to sell. In order to comply with the consent order, we were left only with the option of filing an eminent domain action to indicate to the DEP we are proceeding. Now, under the eminent domain code, once you file an eminent domain action, you have to put into a trust fund the estimated just compensation for the taking of that property. That's how you perfect your eminent domain declaration of taking, so that you can proceed to take the property over, to do what you need to do with the property. And the only issue then is, what is the fair market value? And that's where, if the parties can't agree, once again, it goes to a board of review, and they set the price. We had an appraisal done, and the appraisal came back at something less than $60,000. So on the strength of that appraisal, the board, in compliance with the eminent domain code, issued a check to Sweat Law Office's client trust account. It's not a separate account, it's a client trust account that all attorneys and law firms are required to maintain under our disciplinary rules. So that, along with multiple other funds of other clients not related to Union Township, that money was deposited into our client trust account, and an individual ledger card was set up. We were able then to satisfy the requirements of the eminent domain code by holding that amount. Banahaskey family retained counsel in Pittsburgh to object to the filing, object to the amount. And at that point in time, they were mounting a counteroffensive where they were prepared to argue that even though Mrs. Banahaskey owns a home and I believe 20 or 30 plus acres, that this half acre is so integral to her whole 30 acres that our potential taking is not just of the half acre, but of all 30 acres in the home. If the Banahaskeys would have prevailed, the Board of Review could have come back with a damage amount in hundreds of thousands of dollars. So at that point in time, we reconvened. and also the Van Haske family voiced their concern, and our hands were tied at that point. But this board instructed the engineers, well, would you look at other sites? Is there another site that potentially might work? And the Van Haske's attorneys worked with us on trying to identify locations past the Van Haske property. And they were able to locate a parcel on the, help me, the Lecco property, which is where one of the drill pads is gonna be. The engineers, under the direction of the board, were instructed to come up with an alternative design, present it to the DEP, and see if that would be acceptable. The DEP came back and said, yes, it was. So we were able to identify an alternate site. In the meantime, the eminent domain action is still open. The money is still in my client trust account, as required by law. And we proceeded to do a subdivision, identify the parcel that was needed for the package plant, and to re-engineer, I guess, some additional grinder pumps, and there's going to be an additional cost based on where this is going to be located. But the township was able to negotiate a purchase of the Lecco property for $30,000. Once that was done, once that deal was closed, and the deed is now in the name of the township so that we can proceed into the financing, the construction of the plant and of the general design, we were then able to discontinue the action against Mrs. Van Haske. As part of the settlement of that eminent domain action, we had to pay some of their attorney's fees, but after the matter was settled, my office wrote a check for that same amount back to Union Township. It was given to Bobby. Bobby deposited into the operating account. So that $58,000 sat until the Van Haske eminent domain action was resolved. Once it was resolved and settled, the check was reissued back, and it's now back in the operating account where it's stated.
Exactly.
That's the story.
Okay, so that, hopefully that clears up any concerns anyone had. And additionally, there was also a statement that Union Township used CSI against the Van Haske property. Does anybody know that to be true? Okay. Just, that was a record, so I wanted to clear that up, and I wanted to bolster one last statement. We are talking about environmental concerns here this evening, and we've had tons of environmental concerns, and sewage has been probably one of our biggest, in addition to some of the other concerns people have. So, okay, that's really all I had for Chairman's report, and we can move on.
Thank you.
Under C, unfinished business, we have vacancies A through D. We'll leave those on here until, if we are told by our staff to take them off. No new resumes or interest on any of these boards. Okay. Item D, executive sessions announcing March 9th and March 16th, 2022, all on personnel and litigation. And we're moving quickly into action items this evening. If I'm going too fast, please slow me down or just stop me. E, action items. Number 1, approve deny minutes for January 26, 2022 Board of Supervisors public meeting. I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I'll second the motion for January 26, 2022.
Any deliberation?
I'd like to have it for the record that I had suggested some changes to this that were not made, and in the minutes that were provided, I was misquoted on item number 1314. The clarification from the tax collector was misquoted. Ms. Evans-Bourne's comment was misquoted, Mr. Dare's comment was misquoted, and even Mr. Eskin's comments about Ms. Evans was misquoted. And it wasn't for shortening. Mr. Eskin's comment in the meeting minutes says that he was unhappy that Ms. Evans left when she did. Although what he really said was she likes to drop a bomb, run out of the building, and how much money she has cost the township in her ridiculous right to knows, and once again she says her piece and leaves like a ghost. But he was quoted as saying he's unhappy that Ms. Evans makes a comment and leaves. So there's a lot of misquotes in the meeting minutes. I did some asked to have some of that stuff either taken out and abbreviated altogether, or to quote it correctly. But the changes weren't made, so, I just wanted for the record that I believe that they do not represent what actually occurs in the meeting.
So as far as deliberation goes, staff, do you have any comments? How do you want to proceed going forward? I don't know what to do any better. There's all kind of things being stated at this meeting, things that are damning to all of us, but they aren't always put out exactly word for word because you guys are not stenographers.
That's
So
an
I don't
option.
know what to
It
do. I
wasn't
wanted
abbreviated, it was misquoted.
Well, that's an option. Hire a stenographer to come in here every meeting and sit and do the minutes that way.
And I can speak that the minutes that I've begun doing and working with Bobby, because she does them as well, we share that task. Moving forward, we've, excuse me, taken Solicitor Sweat's recommendation and not including discussion items and stuff, so I'm listing what was topics discussed, but not going into that, so hopefully that'll be avoided in the future.
Okay, board, any other deliberation on how to do this better? I know that with the Facebook, I know people can go back and listen to everything, and if they want to hear word for word, that's why we have it up there. But do you have any suggestions?
I don't. I think
Okay.
unless you have it, every word and every I in there, there's always gonna be a complaint there.
Unless we go hire us to talk.
Not allowed.
Stenographer.
Yeah.
I don't think by law we're allowed to. We explored that at one time, and Mr. Sweat looked in the law, and it has to be prepared by the secretary.
I am fine with deleting a lot of the discussion out. However, some people's comments are put in there in a large extent, and then other people are just deleted. There is even things that Ms. Dare said in the February 26th minutes where she had asked to be put on the record, and what she said wasn't included in the minutes. So there is either take out a lot of the discussion, but if you're gonna put in a whole paragraph of what Mr. Eskin said, state it correctly. That's all what I'm asking for. Either take it out or state it correctly.
And moving forward, we are chopping them down a whole lot.
So, I'm gonna go out of order here. I know I made a motion, but I would like to rescind that motion to approve these minutes. And, I would like to modify that, so,
I'll second the motion to rescind it.
okay. So, roll call, deliberation on rescinding? Okay, roll call on rescinding, Father?
Ms. Dare,
Yes.
Mr. Lawson,
Yes.
Mr. Eskin,
Yes.
Ms. Dupree.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to make a new motion. I'd like to motion to approve the minutes from January 26th, 2022, Board of Supervisors public meeting with the condition of adding every comment that Ms. Dupree would like in the minutes, verbatim. Okay, that's a motion. Any seconds?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, any deliberation? Dare motion, Lawson second, any deliberation? Okay, roll call please.
Ms. Dupree,
No.
Mr. Lawson,
Yes.
Ms. Dare,
Yes.
Mr. Eskin,
Yes.
Item number 2, approve deny minutes from the February 3rd, 2022 Board of Supervisors, special meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for February 3rd, 2022 Supervisors Special Meeting.
Motion by Mr. Eskin, is anybody seconding? I can't because I wasn't there.
I will second the motion, February 3rd.
Okay, Supervisor Eskin motion, Supervisor Lawson second, is there any deliberation?
The minutes that I was provided by email on March 17th doesn't include those. I have 3 sets of meeting minutes, that meeting was not included, so I don't have them to look at.
they will be sent on Monday. Monday afternoon.
I have three meeting minutes on mine.
Can you look on your computer at this time? I saw them, and I saw them sent, I read them. Just wanna make sure everybody got a copy. We don't wanna,
My email says,
sorry.
yeah. My email says attached are the 3 sets of meeting minutes that will be on the agenda at Wednesday's meeting, March 9th, February 23rd, January 26th.
Did everybody else have an opportunity to look through them, or to look at them?
I don't know, laptop there.
My notes on the agenda was sent to me, I read them.
Okay. Well, I
I
don't
don't
want.
have all the copies with me.
Okay. I'd like to possibly table these. I wanna make sure everybody has the opportunity to read them. I don't wanna rush through as a supervisor has to.
Table all.
So there's a motion on the table though. Does anybody want to rescind their motion?
I'll rescind the motion to approve the meetings for, January 3rd.
It would be February 3rd.
Yep, February 3rd.
Anybody-
2020.
I'll second the motion,
Okay.
rescind the motion.
Supervisor Eskin motion to rescind the original motion. Supervisor Watson seconded that to rescind the original motion. Any deliberation? Okay, Terry, roll call please.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Not as quick as Bobby is. Ms. Dare?
Yes. Oh, I know, abstain due to the fact that I wasn't at this meeting.
Dupree?
Yes.
Mr. Eskin?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes,
Okay, wonderful. So then, is there anybody that's interested in making a motion to table?
I'll make a motion to table February 3rd, 2022 Board of Supervisors special meeting.
I'll second the motion to table February 3rd, 2022 supervisor special meeting.
Okay, Supervisor Eskin motion, Supervisor Lawson second. Is there any deliberation? Roll call, Ms. Gladys?
Ms. Dupree?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes,
Mr. Eskin?
Yes.
Ms. Dare?
Yes.
Oh,
I abstain. Abstain due to the fact that I wasn't at the February 3rd meeting. Okay, moving on to item number 3, approved denied minutes from the February 23rd, 2022 Board of Supervisors public meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the February 23rd, 2022 Board of Supervisors meeting.
February 3rd? Any seconds on
I'll
that?
second,
Thank you.
February 23rd, 2022 Board of Supervisors public meeting.
Okay, Lawson motion, Eskin second. Is there any deliberation? Okay, roll call please.
I'm sorry, this was motion to approve.
Yes, motion to approve.
Ms. Dare?
Yes.
Ms. Dupree?
No, same as before.
Mr. Eskin?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes,
Item 4, approved denied minutes from March 9th, 2022 Board of Supervisors public meeting. Before anything further, I want to please give the opportunity, if anybody feels that they have not been able to read them or feel that there needs to be any changes, I would be fine tabling them, but if anybody has any, I'd like to do deliberation now.
I'm good with March 9th.
Anybody have any concerns? I'd like to make a motion to approve minutes from the March 9th, 2022 Board of Supervisors public meeting.
I'll second the motion to approve the minutes for March 9th, 2022 Board of Supervisors.
There are motions, Eskin second, any deliberation? Okay, roll call please.
Ms. Dare?
Yes.
Mr. Eskin?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Ms. Dupree?
No.
Item 5, approve, deny Pittsburgh Powder Coat Sewage Planning Module Component 3. I'd like to make a motion to approve Pittsburgh Powder Coat Sewage Planning Module Component 3.
I will second, Pittsburgh Powder Coating Sewage Planning Module Component Number.
Okay, Dare motion, Deskin second, any deliberation? Okay, roll call please.
Mr. Eskin?
Yes.
Ms. Dare?
Yes.
Ms. Dupree?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Item 6, approve, deny resolution number 12 of 2022 as a revision to the official sewage facilities plan for new land development for the Pittsburgh Powder Coat development.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 12.
Okay, I'd like to second that motion. Lawson motion, Dare second, is there any deliberation? Roll call please.
Ms. Dupree?
Yes.
Mr. Eskin?
Yes.
Ms. Dare?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Item 7, approve, deny, I just did that one, I apologize. Item 8, approve, deny,
No, we did
Oops,
7. You
I
didn't
didn't do 7? Okay. I'm sorry. Item 7, approve, deny Pittsburgh Powder Coat Site Plan Land Development Application, condition upon satisfying Harshman CE Group's review comments per a letter dated March 7th, 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve Pittsburgh Powder Coating Site Plan Land Development Application.
I'll second the motion to approve Pittsburgh Powder Coat Site Plan.
Subject to the comments of the engineer.
I probably should have read it all.
Okay.
I lost it.
Okay, so motion by Lawson, second by Eskin. Any deliberation? Okay, and just to review, this is condition upon satisfying Harshman CE Group's review comments letter dated March 7th, 2022. Okay, roll call please.
Ms. Dare?
Yes.
Ms. Dupree?
Yes.
Mr. Eskin?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Item 8, approve, deny PAWC Aldrich Water Treatment Plan Subdivision Consolidation Plan, condition upon satisfying Harshman's CE Group's review comments letter dated March 7th, 2022. I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I'd like to second that motion to approve the PAW Aldrich Water Treatment Plant Subdivision Consolidation Plan condition upon satisfying CE Group review per comments letter March 7, 2022.
Dare motion, Lawson second, is there any deliberation? Roll call please.
Mr. Eskin?
Yes.
Ms. Dupree?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Ms. Dare?
Yes. Item 9, approve, deny PAWC. Did I read that already? I'm seeing
No.
it. It's a double
No,
check.
no.
I know.
Okay, approve, deny PAWC Aldrich Water Treatment Site Plan, Land Development Application, condition upon satisfying Harshman CE Group's review comments letter dated March 7th, 2022. I'd like to make a motion to approve that.
I'll second the motion to approve the PAWC Aldrich Water Treatment Site Plan Land Development Application conditioned on satisfying Harshman CE Group review comments per letter March 7th, 2022.
Okay, Dare motion, Lawson second. Is there any deliberation? Okey-dokey. Roll call please.
Ms. Dupree?
Yes.
Mr. Eskin?
Yes.
Ms. Dare?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Item 10, approve, deny M.O. Heron's payment application number 5. This payment amounts to $15,328.60 and is the release of retainage held on the Overlook Sewer Project, and I'm gonna say wrap up. Just to remind everyone, we tabled this at the last meeting because we wanted to dot some i's, cross some t's. Sean has done that, and this is, I believe, is this the final payout?
That's correct.
Okay, final pay up on the city's plan, you just wrapped up on it.
Do you make a motion to approve?
I didn't,
I'll make a motion to approve O'Hara's payment application number 5. It amounts to $15,328.60 and release the retainage. That is the releasing the retainage on the Overlook Sewer project.
I will second that motion for M.O. Herrick payment application number 5.
okay, Supervisor Lawson motion, Supervisor Eskin second. Is there any deliberation? Okay, roll call please.
Just because we're talking Overlook, just want to let everyone know that road crew did attend the training. They said they learned a lot, it was great.
Thank you. Saw it on Facebook, great. Okay, roll call please.
Mr. Lawson,
Yes.
Ms. Dare,
Yes.
Mr. Free,
Yeah.
Mr. Eskin,
Yes.
Item 11, please deny the conditional use application of EQT to develop the Sarah Well pad and property subject to conditions that address concerns.
Madam Chairman, if I may.
Yes, please.
I received a telephone call from Attorney Darren Gabriel, who is the solicitor for Jefferson Hills Township, and also agreed to participate in a conference call with Attorney Gabriel and Attorney John Smith, who is special counsel to Jefferson Hills on oil and gas matters. They asked a number of questions. I did my best to deal with their questions. I also indicated that my office was prepared to submit an extensive list of conditions as part of the approval. We reviewed some of those conditions and they were quite satisfied. They did ask that in the future that if something affects a neighboring township, that we as a matter of courtesy let them know that something's going on, or we're going to have a special meeting, or an issue has come up. And that's just a matter of professional courtesy, and we agreed to do that. They also agreed that the Act 14 notice is not the obligation of the township. That has to do with the ESC GP1 permits that are issued solely by the DEP, and that we properly advertised our hearings, and they understood the same. Their biggest issue concerned school bus traffic, and I indicated that we do have a condition that requires that EQT work with the school district. In this case, it was Ringgold School District. I'm going to add that if any truck routing that concerns the Sarah Well pad impacts the neighboring school districts such as Peters Township or Jefferson Hills, that EQT is going to be required to work with their school bus administrators to make sure that the traveling of the school buses is done safely, and they were satisfied with that. I agreed to give them a list of all the exhibits. When I reviewed the list of exhibits that were submitted, they said, well, that would answer almost all of our questions. So that conference call went well, and as a result of the same, I'm going to make a proposed motion for the board to consider. Now, it's important to understand that oil and gas drilling is a land use under our zoning ordinance. And if an applicant complies with the conditions listed in our ordinance, they're entitled to the conditional use permit. The only issue at that point is, can we add additional conditions that we believe are enforceable or are agreeable to by the applicant? In this case, a review of the record indicates that they have complied with all of the various aspects of our conditional use ordinance, and there was no evidence that indicated they did not comply. So in that respect, they're entitled to a conditional use approval to construct oil and gas activities on the Sarah property. That conditional use approval is subject to the following conditions being added to the motion. And I'm going to read those for the record. Number 1, compliance with the Union Township Code, including 280 section 102 subparagraph 40 that defines and regulates oil and gas development, and 280 section 102 subparagraph 42 certified water storage facilities and MLVTs within the township, as well as all other applicable provisions of the township zoning ordinance, including but not limited to performance standards, additional regulations, administration and enforcement, and stormwater management. Number 2, confirmation and continuing compliance as determined by Harshman CE Group, LLC, the township engineers, that all applicable standards have been met. Number 3, obtain an excavation and grading permit per Chapter 135 of the Union Township zoning ordinance, grading in Chapter 225, stormwater management as the standard for compliance to excavate the drill pad and site and pay the required township fees. Number 4, reimburse township for costs and inspection related to administration and enforcement of this conditional use permit. Number 5, execute a developer's agreement related to the repairs, upgrades, and improvements that shall be required to stabilize those portions of the access road that travel over the township's sanitary sewage lines. Number 6, install a 100-foot asphalt paved apron at the access point off of Finleyville-Orama Road to the well site to control the mud and the debris that would normally be brought onto the road by trucks that travel onto the site. Number 7, control dust, debris, and other sediment from accruing on any roadways in the township. In the event this becomes a problem, EQT may be required to take additional corrective measures, including but not limited to the installation of tire washing facilities at the well site. Number 8, prevent the impediment of traffic flow on township roadways at all times during operations. This shall include but not be limited to truck traffic during the fracking stages. EQT must provide notice of and receive written approval from the township of any proposed preventative measures. EQT will use a traffic coordinator to provide notice and oversight prior to drilling, fracking, and completion operations. Number 9, provide the township 30 days notice prior to the start of fracking operations. Said notice shall enable the township to notify EQT of any changes that may have occurred in the area since the previous fracking operation. This shall also allow the township to give public notice of fracking and truck traffic activity at township meetings. Number 10, coordinate truck activity with the school bus traffic for the Ringgold School District and, if impacted, adjoining school districts such as Peters Township and Jefferson Hills, so as not to interfere with the transportation of students during school bus hours. A copy of the most up-to-date truck traffic plan and schedule shall be provided to the township every month. Number 11, before any activities begin, post the legal address of the site on the access gate for 911 emergency purposes in accordance with Act 9 of 2012. Said site address to be 4371 Finleyville-Orama Road, Finleyville, PA 15332. Number 12, provide proper signage for well site traffic, including no Jake brake signs, provided the same is permitted by the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, PennDOT. The township will apply for any necessary signage permits for PennDOT as required. EQT shall pay for any signage and be responsible to reimburse the township for said costs. 13, every 6 months, EQT shall provide an updated written schedule concerning the site operations, including upcoming vertical and horizontal drilling activities and fracking operations. Number 14, multiple water corrals above ground storage tanks, ASTs, shall be permitted at the well site as described in the conditional use application and explained in testimony at the hearing, so that testimony is part of the record. Number 15, fresh water and recycled water shall be permitted at the site in accordance with any state permits. Number 16, any standalone certified water storage facilities, specifically those water corrals, ASTs, or impoundments located on the subject property after the initial scope of drilling and completion operation shall be subject to continued compliance with the applicable provisions of the Township Code. Number 17, prior to the use of the site for standalone certified water storage facilities, an updated site plan must be provided at least 30 days prior to operations beginning. Underneath that, A, site plan shall include the requisite information as to the installation, number of ASTs or related water storage facilities, any parking facilities and or trailers, servicing the certified water storage facility, as well as timelines involved. B, EQT must provide an updated access route map along with the necessary bonding and road maintenance agreements if any township roads are proposed to be traveled. C, any ASTs and related facilities that are to be located beyond the site plan scope submitted as part of this original conditional use application may be deemed to be an expansion of the conditional use approval. Number 18, provide the following security. A, erect any and all gates and fencing around the well site as described in the conditional use application and hearing testimony. B, provide 24/7 security personnel during all vertical and horizontal drilling activities and fracking operations. C, provide a gate at the entrance of the access road that shall remain locked during non-drilling fracking operations. Number 19, EQT shall provide a copy of the Preparedness, Prevention, and Contingency Plan, it's referred to as the PPC, filed with the DEP and Washington County, as well as provide safety training to all local emergency personnel. This shall include, but not be limited to, the Union Township Public Works Department, all fire departments, police departments, EMS and ambulance service providers in the township. Proof of service shall be provided to the township prior to drilling operations beginning. Any changes in safety plans must be provided to the township along with written confirmation that said changes have been provided to all local emergency personnel. Number 20, applicant will permit township police, emergency personnel, code enforcement, and or engineering personnel access to the well site upon 40 hours notice to conduct periodic inspections. 21, make certain that all lighting is directed inward once operations begin and prevent glare onto adjacent properties. Number 22, EQT will be permitted on-site work and bulk trailers for essential work personnel only. No additional workers or rig hands are permitted to live on site. Number 23, if applicable, EQT must enter into an inspection and maintenance agreement in compliance with Township Ordinance Chapter 211, Sewers, Article 5, holding tank with the township. A copy of said agreement must be provided to the township prior to operations beginning. EQT must maintain an escrow for the pumping contract, permit, and agreement. 24, maintain a sound level at the drill site, and this is something that Attorney Gabriel and Attorney Smith reviewed. Maintain a sound level at the drill site that is within the parameters permitted under the Township Sound Ordinance and in keeping with the sound study and standard testified to by applicant's expert at the conditional use hearing. This shall include the 32-foot high sound walls and blankets as described at the hearing, enclosing the northern, eastern, and southern sides of the drill pad. In the event there is any type of complaint after operations begin, the applicant must take immediate measures to investigate sound levels. If after reasonable investigation a violation of the Township Sound Ordinance is found, the applicant must take measures to mitigate the noise level produced from the site. A, within 90 days of completion operations, applicant must provide an updated sound study as required by the Township Code. Number 25, in addition to compliance with all testing requirements related to the applicable federal and state regulations and or permits, including but not limited to Section 3218 of Act 13, A, EQT shall conduct pre-drilling water testing of all properties with a private water source located within 3,000 feet of the surface location of the well bores at the well site. Results shall be provided to the property owners, and a certificate of completion shall be submitted to the township at least 10 days prior to the initiation of drilling activities. All results and required remedies shall be according to the applicable federal and state regulations. B, EQT will offer water supply testing to all property owners within 3,000 feet of the surface location of the well bores on the well site within 60 days of completion of hydraulic fracturing activities. Physical collection of the water samples will be scheduled with the landowner by EQT's third-party sampling contractor or laboratory at the convenience of the landowner. Sampling results will be provided to any property owners accepting that offer within 90 days of completion of hydraulic fracturing activities. Now, it should be noted, those two things, that's above and beyond what's required by state law. And this is something that the residents requested. It's not as extensive as what you requested, but it's something that we know that, we now know that EQT will agree to, and that without their agreement, it probably is not enforceable at law in the courts. But this is something that they agreed to do as an extra measure. C, EQT will continue to test properties pursuant to the requirements of Act 13 and all applicable state or federal laws. Number 26, provide township with a copy of any and all site review reports conducted by the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection related to the ESCGP3 and related permits. This is where the Act 14 notice comes in. Provide township with a copy of all tests and reports provided for in accordance with the requirement of Act 13, the Air Pollution Control Act, and related air quality regulations, both state and federal. Number 28, identify the representative of EQT who will be the contact person 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for any emergencies that arise within the township. 29, if requested by the township, EQT must provide a representative at township's regular monthly meetings during active fracking operations. The township will endeavor to identify for EQT any issues requiring discussion in advance of the meeting so that EQT shall be prepared to answer to the best of its ability. The township will make a good faith effort to place EQT towards the beginning, if not first, on the agenda. Number 30, the township will invoice the applicant for reimbursement of costs and fees associated with administration, engineering, and review compliance outlined in any permits applicant must receive from the township. 31, delivery of all required state and county permits before drilling operations begin, and they'll be on file here at the township. Number 32, comply with all applicable regulations as set forth in the township code, local, state, and federal statutes. Madam Chairman, that would be my proposal for conditions.
A little bit out of order, but does any supervisor have any questions for Attorney Sweat on any of the proposed conditions?
I do not.
And correct that there are 32 in all?
Yes, with cell parts.
I have a question about number 25. So A has, using the legal term shall test, but part B, after, will offer testing. How will we know if they offered testing? I mean, part A says they shall test before the drilling. B says they will offer testing.
Because they don't have to do it after. They're only required to do it before. And if the property owner, I would think they would want it tested. So
I'm only
make that
asking,
bill.
how will we know that they offered the testing? Like if it is a condition, it says the condition is they shall test it prior to fracking,
Right.
but they will offer to test afterwards.
To see if there's been any contamination in the water supply.
Yeah, but is there any proof that they offered?
That would be up to the EQT and the property owner.
So it's not necessarily a
No,
condition?
it's not something we control.
Okay, so it's in the first.
Yeah.
On 22, the definition of essential work personnel. How many are we talking? Like, what's the definition of essential? How many people will be housed up there?
I think at the hearing,
Is there a-
they mentioned how many workers would be on site and what their work schedule would be.
So there's a company man and the drilling hand, or whoever's in charge of the drill rig specifically for the company, and there's gonna be, 2 people for EQT that work 12-hour shifts and 2 people for the drilling company that work 12-hour shifts. So, minimum of 4 people. There may be 6, there may be some other jobs that require some 12-hour shifts there, but it's not gonna be like we're hosting a hotel on the website.
As I mean, there are, people who live there. It just had no definition of what's essential workers and how many that would be. The other thing I've shown concern with in prior meetings with EQT was that it is in our ordinance to contact all of our emergency services. And I had checked with them, and the EMS were not trained like the fire departments were. It was stated by the EQT representative that they had no contact information for our ambulance service. That is still a concern of mine, that they haven't been trained.
If I may just speak to that one, I crossed with an EQT representative, she came and used the restroom one day. And I provided her with Mr. Doug Pascoe's information because she couldn't get a good contact there, and so they now have Doug Pascoe's information, so I just wanted you to know that.
Okay, I wanted to make sure that they, I don't know what our emergency management plan is here, or I do have concerns with a resident that was at the podium at the last meeting. They seemed to have concerns about a situation that wasn't yours, but it was a similar kind of development near her house. And she was left for naught. Like, she called 911, the police officer said he didn't come because he doesn't have hazmat. That's who they told me. It just left her very scared, and so I want to make sure that there is a plan. I do have concerns for this is my first hearing for conditional use. I'm saddened by the fact that we were
suggested to close the hearing, so I couldn't gather more information afterwards. It is my first. In the future, I'll ask to have them left open. So just as the concerned residents, I just need to say that I can only look at the evidence that was presented until that hearing was closed. I wish it would have been left open. I didn't know until after the fact that I couldn't, but I am concerned about I don't know what EQT would be willing to do as far as who you can call if there is a incident there near your house.
Well, Michelle, the emergency is covered by 19. The state law requires the preparedness, prevention, and contingency plan to be on file with the DEP and Washington County. That is the
So I'm talking about a 911 emergency situation, not a DEP emergency call them on Monday.
Well, no, PPC is not, that's the emergency that you're referring to. That would be, it would be activated by 911 call.
That's it, I think it's as simple as that, it's like if there's an emergency, anyone just calls 911. You don't call, you don't try to figure out who.
It just didn't seem to work for a situation that was for the Macintosh compressor station.
It didn't work.
And so I don't know how to fix that. I'll look into it, but if there is a way to reach out to the people that are surrounding your pad, and tell them who they can call if they're in fear, that would be very appreciated by them.
If I may, Lenny, Mr. Bailey is here, our emergency management coordinator, and you're the expert in the room on this as far as our township goes, and would you like to comment at all?
The training that was conducted, the El Remo Fire Department was at the training, the EQT conducted it on fire hall. The EMS was invited, and they failed to show up. I personally called them myself and invited them, and they failed to show up too. So they did not come. We were there, and we were trained by EQT on what to do if there's an emergency. So I don't want the public thinking that there's not that we don't know what we're doing when we get there.
And Lenny, you guys have an emergency plan put into place in case something would happen.
Right.
Because on Facebook, there has been some comments that the Board of Supervisors don't know what's going on. There is no emergency plan put into effect. You guys do have an emergency plan put into effect.
Right.
If something would happen, you guys know what to do.
We follow our proper protocol as things go, and it's the way it falls. And if we need to go higher, Washington County has a hazmat team, et cetera. So.
I only was concerned because it was a representative of the EQT at the hearing that said that he had no contact phone number, that he hadn't reached out to the EMS. So I just was making sure that does happen, since he stated that it hadn't yet.
Once EQT contacted me with the training and that, to set it up, because that our fire department, I invited the other fire department, and they already were trying to contact them also, so.
Just wanted to attest that, thank goodness, I've never seen that type of an emergency, what we're talking about right now, but I have seen Mr. Bailey with emergency rescue boats in 10 feet water, going and saving people out of their homes. I've witnessed it myself. I've seen what the El Remo Fire Department does in an emergency, and I'm sure you're equipped to do similar in the event of some type of catastrophic.
But what if it's an air release, like what happened with Macintosh? You said, there's no
air release, there's nothing we can do, we can't go up in the air.
So what do you do? What do you do? How do they notify us? Their thermal oxidizers failed and released the VOCs. So what do you do?
Ma'am, can you restate your name and
Darla Savko, 68 Aber Road.
Thank you.
So, we're breathing all this up in, which I'm sure the residents in Jefferson Hills up on Guildhall Road did too that Saturday. What is my recourse? I call 911, the fire company comes out, they can't do any, where do I go?
Lenny, would you be able to help the board get Ms. Southco an answer on this? I know the policeman said he was going to get back.
Never got back to me.
Okay.
We were called there, I was on the call, I was the one driving the truck that day. I arrived there with 4 people, and it wasn't no 20, 25 minutes later that the fire truck showed up. We were pretty quick. Maybe it took them that long to call us, but we were there pretty quick. So, and there was guys at the station when the call come in. And when something like that comes up, we go to the initial dispatch location, which was her address, we go there and she explains what's going on. So of course, we turn around, we drive down to the, Macintosh station. There's nothing going on at the point when we're there. Now, prior to that, I can't justify that. When we were there, everything was fine. You know, I can't control what's up in that area, you know, so, but we were there in a timely manner. It wasn't 20, 25 minutes later.
Do you have a requirement to report that to the, DEP? You don't have any requirement for emergency management?
So, Terry, Ms. Gladys, would you be able to get down to the bottom of this? And would you get Ms. Southco's contact information coordinated between the policeman and, Mr. Bailey? And,
I can vouch for that day, there was no police there. Police did not show up. You know, I don't know, on that end, that's not my department. My department is the fire department. So, we were there, we made sure nobody was, in our eyes, was in harm, and we went on with our day.
okay, so can we please get an answer for the board by next meeting, and hopefully to Ms. Southco before next meeting? So we have a protocol, maybe touching base with the EQT emergency, and who is that? Equitrans, it's a separate company, that's right. So, could you get those contacts? Thank you very much.
But the same thing could happen with this Sarah well plant, so what's the plan? I mean, they could have an emissions release at the Sarah well plant.
Here's the thing, this township doesn't have any jurisdiction over air releases. That's governed by Act 13, the Air Pollution Quality Control Act, which is governed by the EPA federal and the DEP state. So I think any investigations, any violations, any reports have to go to those agencies. I mean, if you would contact the township, that's what we would do. We would just forward it to the DEP. We have no jurisdiction.
The DEP, it wasn't forwarded to the DEP though, so that's what she's asking. They know that X number of residents called 911 that day. 911 took the call, drove over, saw that they didn't see anything because it's an air emissions issue. So is somebody going to
So the issue is
that?
just one of reporting if there's a problem.
Yeah,
There's
so
nothing the
somebody
township can do
Right,
other
we
than to
understand.
pass it
We
on
understand that.
to the appropriate.
Can the emergency services team
agencies.
commit to calling the DEP in the event that they get 10 calls from residents that there is an emissions issue? Are they gonna call the air quality department of DEP? and
I'm sure
report?
EQT will. Otherwise,
but
they
they
can be
didn't
fined
this
if they
time.
don't
It
do
wasn't
it.
done.
Right,
Right.
we're talking hypotheticals and conjecture. In the future, that's what they have to do.
Okay.
Our conditions have addressed that.
Okay, this happened last week and that didn't happen. EQT did not send that
Okay,
message.
excuse me, may we please have a little bit of order? If you want to speak, please identify your name so we have that for the record. And circling back, Terry.
So I will address protocol for this release happened at the Macintosh compressor station, correct? So moving forward with EQT, we have a protocol in place according to these conditions if they get approved. And retroactively talking about the issue that happened and what should happen and what we can make happen for the Macintosh compressor station, I'm going to work with the resident involved and our emergency people, contacts, Equitrans, to make sure that we now retroactively have a protocol or can get.
We'll have an EQT contact person. That's condition number 28, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So just
If complaints come in.
For the residents to call that person, or for the township to call?
Well,
that
if the
person?
township is aware of the problem, we have a person to contact.
But if it's a Saturday, like that was a
We'll do the best
Saturday.
we can. I mean,
Well, that's, the best isn't good
somebody
enough.
won't be here.
There's a 1-800 number posted at the well site. It's on our website. Somebody saps the 1-800 emergency number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Holidays, Christmas, New Year, someone always picks up that phone.
But I think, again, you should call 911 if you have an emergency. And 911 has our contact, and they know who's on 24/7. So just to keep it simple, if there's an emergency, you call 911.
The 911 needs trained.
So please, everybody has an opportunity to speak up. Now, please just state your name and record, and if you wouldn't mind coming to the podium. Whatever order, absolutely. Whoever, I know both of you have your hand up, whatever you would choose.
Nicole Rosito, address?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
1524 High Road, Jefferson Hills. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm Councilwoman Nicole Rosito in Jefferson Hills. And, Mr. Sweat, I'm a little confused because I've had conversations with our solicitor and with John Smith, and they said that no agreements were made. The conversation that the three of you had was strictly informational.
That's correct.
We didn't say that this looks good or that looks good. That wasn't mentioned. And to me, honestly, as a council person in Jefferson Hills, the demands that you're asking for EQT, the compliances, that they're woefully inadequate. Woefully. And, I mean, you talked about a fund that you were gonna have to purchase some property, and that's what you do. I mean, you should offer these people the same thing, start a fund for them for water testing to pay for it for them if need be. You've gotta show these residents that you're protecting them, you have a fiduciary duty to protect them. That's what I take with me every day as I sit on council. We took this case all the way up to the state Supreme Court. That's how devoted we were to protect our residents. And as far as, I came in a little bit late and I apologize. You mentioned that you couldn't hire a court reporter. Why exactly is that?
They meant for meetings.
For meetings, yes.
They weren't talking about the hearing per se.
Yeah, why are you not permitted
So
to
ma'am,
have?
we're right in the middle of a motion on EQT, and I appreciate your comments on our,
I just
agenda.
wanted to state that it's done other places, and no problem, they hire court reporters and the report's posted straight to the borough's webpage, so Mr. Sweat, I'm confused about that. And, you know, as far as emergency management services are concerned, there are more than just chemical emissions that can happen. I live near this in Scenery Hill, and I can't begin to tell you the amount of truck traffic and how fast the trucks barrel along. The safety of your drivers should be of the utmost importance. Children getting on and off of buses. I mean, these are things that aren't addressed in your conditions. The times that those trucks can travel on these roads, and these are the little things that are going to protect your residents. And we're right there, right next to this. We sadly were not notified in Jefferson Hills of this at the council. So I'm here as a neighboring community reaching out for you to reconsider and table to rethink this so that maybe we could discuss some things with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, there was another comment, Ms. Hollingsworth?
Yeah, Janet Hollingsworth, 69 Hobbit Lane. My comment was about the emergency preparedness that's on Facebook. The comment came because we were concerned that there wasn't anything in place. Somebody went back to the last time we heard it spoken of at a meeting, and we didn't hear anything at that meeting, and there was no follow-up at any subsequent meeting, so that's why that conversation occurred.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, so, we were talking about conditions at the last, Gary, just to speak to a couple of the comments. Going back to, you made some comments about a order that went down in Washington County that had 41 conditions, and then it was challenged in court. I mean,
Yeah, that was the Range Resource Cecil Township case
okay,
that went up to Judge Lucas.
okay. So, do you feel like we've adequately covered what we can legally?
Yes.
Okay. So this is now for the board. If you have any questions now, please ask Mr. Sweat based on some of the public comments.
So you, just to be clear, you believe that is the most conditions we can put on this in regards to the citizens'
That would be enforceable without dealing with a preemption or an unreasonable condition not supported by the record.
These people here seem like very good people. They're good employers, they're a good business, those people back there are good people. And it just seems like the fear is what makes it a two-sided thing. Like that it becomes that, it feels like it's these people against these people, but I don't necessarily think they are. I just think they're scared. And I don't know what we offer them to quench some of that fear of their water source and their health. I said I wish I could have gathered some more information before the hearing was closed, but, to the people who are fearful, we have to follow our solicitor's advice on whether or not this can be, if he says this is the most that we can do, we can't take any more testimony because it was closed. Yeah.
Okay, so board,
I have no further comment.
I have one comment. And the comment is that a lot of people that hear about these well pads, and you hear a lot of rumors about this is bad, that's bad, this is good, that's bad. I see a lot of this every day, and I'm on them every day. And there's a lot of stuff that EQT does on safety wise that to me is above and beyond what I have to go through to get onto a pad. These guys go way above and beyond anything. To get onto a pad, you now have to show your driver's license. It scans your driver's license. They know who's on that pad. They know what's going on that pad. I see it every day. And I give these guys credit for going into all these different townships, doing what they have to do. If there's a problem, these guys are going to take care of it. I 100% believe that. 100% believe it.
okay, so, this is a motion, and it's a tough decision, and,
Do you work for the company?
time out, excuse me.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, but this is important before you vote. If you work for,
Excuse me, could you please step to the podium, state your
Sure.
name and address for the record?
Nicole Rosito, 1524 High Road, Jefferson Hills, 15025. Do you work for the company?
No.
You work for a gas company?
No. I work for a hose company.
You work for a host company?
Yes.
Thank you.
To be on the comment that she had earlier about delaying it, Mr. Sweat, is it correct that we are to the point where we can't delay, or it's deemed approved?
That's right, April 1st.
Mr. Sweat,
It's 45 days, when we have to render a decision and issue written findings of fact and
I
conclusions
just
of
don't
law.
want it to seem to
And the
be
only way it
important.
can be extended is with the consent of EQT.
And they're saying no.
Well, then
Can you
cancel it, don't give them the
explain
permit.
for the record on the hearing? We had the permit.
We had two hearings that
I'm sorry,
went
if you
on
have
for
a comment,
hours.
can you go to the podium, please? It's hard to hear.
I'm speaking to a resident beside me, I'm not
Keep your mouth shut so we can hear.
We had two different hearings presided over by my senior attorney in my office, Michael Creamy. Voluminous exhibits, applications that fill boxes up were submitted. Reviewed by our engineers for compliance with our ordinance. Conditional use hearings are held pursuant to the municipality's planning code. Once the record is closed, we have 45 days, unless there's an extension agreed to by the applicant, to render a decision. And if conditions are attached to include findings of fact and conclusions of law in writing that support that. If we fail to meet that timeline, it's clear, the courts have said that is deemed approved. And the deemed approval would be they just get to do the drilling operations and they don't have to follow the conditions. That's why this is so important that you act in a timely manner.
Okay, so I'm going to read again this motion that's up for consideration. Again, it's number 11. Approve, deny the conditional use application of EQT to develop the Sarah well pad and property, subject to the conditions that address the concerns. These are the conditions, the 32 that or Attorney Sweat just read. Is there anybody who would like to move?
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use application of EQT to develop the Sarah well pad and property subject to the conditions that address the concerns of 32 that Mr. Sweat just read. I don't know if there's a number on that or anything.
No. They're in the record.
That's in the record.
I'll second.
Okay, so Lawson motion, Track second. Is there any deliberation?
I just wanted to ask Mr. Spud if there was anything that needed to be written. What happens if they don't follow the conditions? Does that have to be written in here, like?
No, we would enforce any violations of this conditional use approval.
Okay, so when you say enforce, what happens? What happens if
But
they
it
don't follow?
depends what the violation is. Maybe a code enforcement, maybe the engineer does something because there's stormwater issues, grading issues. And it may just be something that we would proceed with as solicitors for the township against EQT. To revoke, the most extravagant remedy would be to revoke the conditional use permit until they came into compliance, and that would stop all operations.
Almost like you do a grading permit or whatever.
Yeah.
You revoke. Okay.
Okay, any other comments or deliberation? Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Dare?
Yes.
Mr. Bree?
Yes.
Mr. Eskin?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Trax?
Yes.
Okay, item 12, approve, deny the execution of the operation and maintenance agreement for stormwater management best management practices. This will be referred to with the acronym SWM-BMP between EQT and Union Township for the Sarah Well Pad grading permit application.
I'll make a motion to approve the execution of the operation and maintenance agreement for the stormwater management, best management practices between EQT and Union Township for the Sarah Well Pad grading permit application.
I'll second that motion for the operation and the maintenance.
Okay,
Maintenance.
Supervisor Lawson motion, Supervisor Eskin second. Is there any deliberation? Roll call, please.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Bree?
Yes.
Ms. Dare?
Yes.
Mr. Eskin?
Yes.
Mr. Trax?
Yes.
Item 13, approve, deny the mediation settlement that occurred on March 10th, 2022 before Judge Michael Lucas concerning the Finleyville El Rama Sewer Project litigation between Union Township and Peters Creek Sanitary Authority, filed at number 2021-6087 and number 2022-0046 in the Washington County Court of Common Pleas. And with that, we have a very large motion to consider. If this is a proposed motion to approve or deny, and I shall read it now, unless
Let me just give you some background. Our township and Peters Creek Sanitary Authority were ordered to mediation by Judge Michael Lucas of the Washington County Court of Common Pleas. And he appointed attorney Tom Vreeland to be the mediator. The mediation occurred in his courtroom. That's how interested and also how concerned Judge Lucas was that the matter be resolved. Initially, it was a mediation designed to address a global settlement of all issues between Peters Creek and Union Township. When it became apparent that we were not going to be able to achieve a global settlement, the judge said, I want you to mediate the Finleyville El Rama sewer problem. I don't want you to leave here today until you have an understanding or a meeting of the minds on how you're going to proceed with that project, because I'm concerned about the 20-plus residents that are dealing with this open sewage issue. So with that, we went into extensive mediation that lasted most of a Friday afternoon and concluded right around 5 o'clock. At the conclusion of the mediation, where the mediator takes both sides and goes in and out of different rooms, and we came up with at least an outline of a settlement that would handle the Finleyville Rama Sewer Project. Judge Lucas called us into his courtroom, attorneys only, and Attorney Vreeland reviewed a summary of the items that were discussed and agreed to by the parties. That has not been transcribed yet, but the motion that Mrs. Dare is going to read basically highlights the summary that Mr. Vreeland gave to Judge Lucas. And there was an open issue over two options, and that's where this was discussed. And then subsequent to that meeting, I know Jamie Harshman spent a lot of time going over the estimate and breaking down the charges for the benefit of the township so that they could understand the cost involved in choosing from two different options. And Mrs. Dare will review that.
Okay, just before I read, this will go into the record. So, as I know there's a lot of concerned citizens on this issue. So, Bobby, this will go into the record after the board moves. So the motion is to approve the settlement of the Finley El Ramo litigation, between Union Township and Peters Creek Sanitary Authority, filed 2021-60-87 and number 2022-0046 in the Washington County Court of Common Pleas concerning the sewer project based upon mediation agreements reached between the parties on March 10, 2022, as directed by Judge Michael Lucas. Item number 1, the mediator instructed the parties to consider two options to install public sewers in the Finley El Ramo project. Option 1 is the existing design that has been approved by the DEP that would require the installation of 20 grinder pumps at an approximate cost of $500,000. This option has been engineered by Harshman Associates, and the 537 plan, along with the engineering plan, has been approved by the DEP. Option 2 was suggested by Peters Creek Sanitary Authority, herein known as PCSA, and the parties were asked to consider installation of a lift station in lieu of 20 separate grinder pumps. Following mediation, Mr. Harshman examined the potential cost to redesign the project, utilizing a lift station, and his estimates in that the cost would be in excess of $1 million. He also indicated that the project would be delayed 12 to 18 months insofar as it would need to be redesigned and submitted to the DEP for approval. Because of the added cost and the extensive delay, the township will agree to fund option 1 based on the construction estimate prepared by Harshman CE Group that will utilize grinder pumps. Number 2, PCSA will undertake the project and will be responsible to advertise, bid, supervise the construction, and inspect the sewer lines and installation and connection to the grinder pumps. 3, PCSA will be responsible for obtaining the easements from property owners for the grinder pumps, and in exchange for the easement, the township will pay the cost of each grinder pump. If a condemnation action is required, PCSA will undertake this at their expense and assess the cost of the grinder pump to the property owner. 4, PCSA will deal directly with the property owners and will discuss tap-in fees and monthly service charges, as well as informing the property owners that they will be responsible for the future maintenance, upkeep, and repair of the grinder pumps that service their particular dwelling. 5, the project must commence within 60 days. 6, PCSA will cooperate with the township in either installing a temporary piping system into the PCSA sewer main, or in the alternative, consider sharing in the cost of maintaining the holding tank to collect the sewage that is flowing in this area until the public system has been installed and the property owners are connected to the same. 7, the township will cooperate in requiring that each property owner tap into the system, and to the extent necessary will enforce its mandatory tap-in ordinance. And 8, Union Township and PCSA will negotiate in good faith a master service agreement that will identify the duties, responsibilities, notices of special assessments or rate increases, and remedies between Union Township and PCSA. Furthermore, there's a breakdown of preliminary cost estimates, and that'll be here for public review on what the actual total cost is going to look like with option 1.
That'll be part of the minutes and the motion.
Yes. This entire packet. So, board, any comments or thoughts before this is voted on? And I'm again going out of order because this has been such a long, arduous process, and I know there may be some questions.
Not for me, I don't have any questions.
We just need to get it done. I think we're good.
I'm looking again. Do we say when this would commence? I know I just
We
read.
said 60 days.
60 days, okay. That was my only concern.
That can't be misunderstood, just starting with engineering or something.
I mean, there's no guarantee that this is gonna happen. It's a showing, it's demonstrating to the judge.
It's here.
We're
This is on
mediating,
the
we've
video.
approved it. Now, if there's a problem, he'll bring us right back into court. immediately. So this is the first step.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the mediation settlement that occurred on March 10th, 2022 before Judge Michael Lucas concerning the Finley El Rama Sewer Project litigation between Union Township and PCSA, filed number 2021-6087 and number 2022-0046 in the Washington County Court of Common Pleas.
I'll second.
Okay, dare motion, track second. Is there any deliberation? Roll call, please.
Before you do roll call, I'm going to instruct Mr. Lawson to abstain from voting since he is a party to litigation that involves Peters Creek Sanitary Authority and indirectly the township.
Mr. Eskin?
Yes.
Excuse me 1 second.
And wake up, everybody.
You can proceed with the roll call.
Okay, Mr. Eskin, you said yes. Mr. Trax?
Yes.
Ms. Dupree?
Yes.
Ms. Dare?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Abstain.
For the reason I stated in the minute.
Okay, item number 14. Approve, deny hiring outside contractor to inspect sewers in El Rama resulting from leaks in lines. And then, this was a conversation we had at the last meeting. We were debating using our road department or hiring an outside contractor and getting, some bids. So.
If I can make one comment on that. So, I just wanted the board to know that I did speak with road crew because they did begin, sort of looking at this stuff. And they are taking notes. They do have data collected. I provided them with, what they were collecting was already what we wanted, but provided them with a sheet so it's organized in the way that the board wanted. And they did identify, just at 3:30 as they were leaving, I spoke with them and they identified a general problem area they might think it is. So not saying that I wouldn't recommend doing this, but just wanted to keep you up to speed as to what the road crew has seen so far and is doing.
Is it your professional opinion that they've started and they have some work put in and to maybe table this till we see how things go in the next month or two, or what's your thoughts?
Now, if you vote to get bids together to see what the cost would be so that you can make a decision next meeting, I don't see anything wrong with that, but they have begun doing work. They do have the data. I did see what they were doing with sort of strategically not popping every manhole, but instead like where they collect, and then if there's a problem, working their way back up, which may or may not be the best way to do it, but I felt was okay. So, and they are collecting the data on it. So, to get bids for next time to discuss further, I don't, think would be a bad idea in case in the next 2 weeks they don't come up with anything tangible that's helpful for us. Or, you can vote to have them to do this, but have them stop looking into this. That's a fine option as well. But.
Talking to Ron and Frank, they went down and talked to Weaver, and they were talking to one of the gentlemen down there. They were saying about a flow meter, and Ricky might have a little bit more information on this. Where the intersection points come, they were talking about putting a flow meter, like on the where it comes down on one side, where I guess two of them come down in, putting a flow meter on the right side, and metering that during a rain, and see what the flow is coming there, what it is without a rain, what it is with the rain, and then doing it on the left side with the rain and without a rain, to try to get where's the water coming in at, and without having the map here, I can't, they were showing me on the map, where the intersection points are, and what about, they asked me, well, what about if we put a flow meter here for a couple of days and put a flow meter here for a couple of days, and, I was gonna talk to you guys about it. What do you guys think? You guys are more on to this,
When we did the
Soil
soil testing,
problem
my memory's right, I think Jamie said you had to rent them for about $5,000
Oh,
to put them in. My thinking is, bid it out,
yeah.
get some numbers. I reached out to a contractor, if you remember, months ago, he wanted $100, it came up to about $100 a manhole, or 75, I can't remember. I put the numbers on the road crew, it's gonna be about the same number, and the road crew got a full plate of road problems.
Yeah.
My vote would be to reach out and get some prices.
Don't hurt.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve approve hiring an outside contractor or starting the bidding process, not bidding, but looking for quotes within the guidelines that the state puts down on, I can't speak, to inspect the sewers and the rain resulting from leaks in the lines. That's a motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, their motion, Eskin second, is there any deliberation? Okay, roll call please.
Mr. Trax?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Eskin?
Yes.
Mr. Creed?
Yes.
Ms. Dare?
Yes. Item 15, approve deny Locks Run Road closure for slide repair. So project was up on the screen last meeting. We need a motion to close the road.
I'll make a motion to, advertise to close Lobbs Run Road 14 days before we do the work. So that the residents know, and we will send a letter out to the residents letting them know that we are gonna be closing the road down from Monday to Friday or during the project. Hopefully we can get it done faster in 5 days and we can open the road back up. But we are gonna close the road to do the project.
And I'm sure they'll do the PA1
Yeah.
calls and all
Yeah.
that. Okay, then, did you make that motion, Dave? I can't
Yes,
remember.
I'll make the motion to close the road, Lobbs Run Road.
And then you're subject to sending letters?
Yeah.
And PA1 calls? Okay. I will second that, motion to approve, closing Lots Run Road 14 days in advance of the slide repair and getting the necessary, letters, signage, letters to residents informing them, and PA1 calls. Any, Eskin motion, Dare second, any deliberation?
Do we have to advertise that in the newspaper here, or just put signs up? Okay,
I'll put it on Facebook and website and everything.
okay. That's all I have.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Creed?
Yes.
Mr. Trax?
Yes.
Ms. Dare?
Yes.
Mr. Eskin?
Yes.
Item 17, approve deny the purchase of a Parson manhole insert with gasket and strap.
16.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
You want out of here.
Approve deny rental of mini excavator for the repair of Lots Run Road. Dave is facilitating this request.
I contacted United Rental. They haven't sent me a quote yet. I'm waiting for the quote to come back. We'll also find out that we do not have an account with them. So we do have to get an account set up. We are on a cash basis with United Rental. We don't have an account set up with any rental companies. The only one we had one set up with was Taylor Rental, and they're no longer in business.
Okay.
So we need to, they're supposed to be sending me a credit out, and
Which United Rental?
in Clarendon, yeah.
So is that the only, are there more rentals?
That's the closest one,
Okay.
yeah. They're right down on, I think it's 837.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Are they pretty universal, or should we go call around and or have?
I'll get an estimate from Black Diamond and from United.
They're all about the same.
Yeah.
Is there also a Sunbelt out on 30?
Yes.
Is there a Sunbelt right?
Yeah, the delivery charge is gonna be way too much.
Okay.
Dave, do you have time to do that? Because I think our road foreman could probably call and get those quotes. Do you want to just let the
I
office?
mean, if he has time, I'm going to be going. Yeah, I'm going to flying down the road.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve, the road foreman to obtain rental quotes for a mini excavator for repair of Logs Run Road I would say just have at least 3 in the file, obviously, and choose the best one, but to have 3 different, options.
It would have to be a 16,000-pound excavator, a minimum of 16,000 pounds.
For a 16,000 pound minimum. That's a motion, any seconds?
I'll second the motion.
Their motion, Eskin second, any deliberation? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bree?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Trax?
Yes.
Ms. Dare?
Yes.
Mr. Eskin?
Yes.
Alrighty, item 17, maybe a moot point based on the motion we just made, a couple above this one, but approve, deny, purchase of a Parson manhole insert with gasket and strap for a 28 3/4 diameter cover. So, is this?
Yeah, this is.
still needed?
You wanna take it?
No, go ahead.
This is, one manhole was identified, remember, as we spoke before, that when road crew was doing inspections, that they would put the inserts in if they weren't. One manhole has been identified to not have an insert, and during major rain events, there was water sort of running over it. There probably wasn't an insert because the manhole is set up above the roadway, but, you know, stuff happens. So this is just to purchase one of those liners. It was, we talked about purchasing a whole bunch of them before, but we didn't see the need, so we found one need, purchased one.
Can I make a comment on that? I think we need to have at least 10 of these on hand at all times, because there's other manholes throughout the township that we could probably use them on, so would be just nice to have some spare sitting.
How much do these cost? Does anybody know
There's
roughly?
a sheet in your
About
package.
$65,
I think
$70
$64
a
or
piece.
$65
Yeah.
a piece.
And it's where PSC's getting theirs. It's the same company.
Okay, which is the company? Or, I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm,
Manhole cover.
okay.
Actually, this is something under the $500 threshold.
Yeah.
The road foreman should be doing, but we can make a motion to get it done.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of 10 Parson manhole insert with gasket and strap for the 28 3/4 diameter covers for the manholes in the Lisa Service District, or anywhere, right?
Yeah, anywhere in the township.
Anywhere in the township.
I'll second that motion.
Their motion, Eskin second, any deliberation? Okay, roll call please.
Ms. Dare?
Yes.
Mr. Bree?
Yes.
Mr. Eskin?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Trax?
Yes.
Item F, discussion items. Number 1, discussing bird proofing options in the pavilion at Lima Park. So I guess the contractor thinks that we need to possibly bird proof.
So it was brought to my attention, the contractor mentioned our engineer, so I'm bringing it to your attention that the contractor proposed an option for bird proofing at the new pavilion in El Rema. They said that they could put basically like a ceiling up there, which I didn't know if the board, it will greatly change the appearance of the pavilion. In addition, there's always, the like bird spike options, which come in a variety of options and colors and materials. Road crew said that in their experience and veterans, they make nests right on the spikes. So, this is not necessarily something that has to take place, but wanted to bring it to the board's attention for consideration if bird proofing options were something you wanted me to look into and get some prices on, or if it's something that y'all feel like you'd like to do without.
I'm not interested.
Yeah, if anybody goes down to Veterans Park, doesn't matter.
They have them down in Veterans Park.
Yeah.
And the birds built nest on top
On
of
top,
them.
yeah. It worked really well.
The other option is a ceiling, but that would greatly change the
Money.
appearance of the
Yeah.
pavilion and obviously cost.
Yeah, if you look at, I guess it's either North Turbane or South Turbane, all the pavilions have ceilings in them to prevent the birds. A lot of money. We don't have that money.
Just wanted to present the option to the board if you wanted me to look into it. If not,
I say no, but that's my one. Anybody please speak up.
if we don't have a problem yet, I can't see doing it until we maybe do.
I missed it.
Same
Uh,
thing.
bird proofing we have it down at the Veterans Park, it's just a bunch of jaggy stuff.
That's what we're saying, that birds just building a
Birds
nest
are
on
building a
them.
nest on top of them.
Unless you wanna look into like a different option.
Yeah.
It would be the only thing. I agree, the spikes don't work. We have them also, and
Yeah.
Birds are birds.
Any other comments?
so there may be different options out there that do work, but I know they don't.
I'll ask around to road crew or any
Yeah.
contractor I come in contact with to see if they have a better idea, and I'll bring that to you, but spikes and ceiling are out for now, check.
Yep.
Okay, unless anybody states otherwise, may I move on to item 2?
Yeah.
Number 2, discuss status of El Ramo Park and rental timeframes and options. So Bobby and Terry brought to us that there are already people lining up to rent the El Ramo Park and the pavilion for the summer, so.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That is awesome.
We talked about just refreshing our current lease and adding the El Ramo Park onto it, and I know we charge how much for residents at the veterans, or excuse, yeah, veterans?
It's $100, $150 security for a resident. Non-residents, $150 and $200. If you're a veteran, you get a $25 discount.
My opinion is to make it free with a small security deposit that is returnable if, there's no damage. I think that there's not enough down there to charge for. And I think it's been a long waiting, so that's my opinion.
I apologize. How is the park coming? I haven't had time. Last time I was down there were still pipes sticking up out of the ground. It was concreted and stuff.
Progress is going pretty good. Right now, it's, as you may remember, there's 3 contracts, so getting the 3 different contractors in when they need to is kind of the difficult part. If everyone just wanted to go and work on it, it could probably be done in a week. So it's just a matter of coordination on the contractors and to get everything done. Right now, the mechanical and plumbing, I think, needs stubbed into the bathroom area. Then the general contractor can kind of finish up, and then the other contractors could put in the final fixtures and the toilets and everything. We did notice a problem with the sidewalk that was built out there. It's sloped just a bit too much, so we're working with the general contractor to rectify that. Due to the grant funding and the ADA considerations, it needs to be right on for ADA approval, so good chance that's gonna be getting ripped up and re-poured.
Do you think that park will be ready by mid-April? Or
I don't see why it wouldn't be.
Or May 1st?
Yeah, I don't understand. Yeah, it makes sense to me. Middle of next month, it should be done. We've been sending some correspondence trying to give them a little kick and a nudge to get it done. Maybe it's just time for us to send a bit more aggressive one as far as contract dates and.
Yeah. I have a comment on the park. I think making them work faster, more coordinated. I spoke to Jamie Harshman about it. He says he has a problem, and this is where I need Mr. Sweat, with managing. He's the inspector, he's the engineer, he's not a manager. We are letting people work when they want, with as many men as they want, if they want. How does the township control this or push it? Both parks need pushed. I understand Jamie's position. Do we need to write letters and sign it as who you're working for? We feel you're not having it manned, and you gotta get it done. You're behind schedule. Jamie says it's inappropriate for his company to do that. We don't have a project manager. How do we do that?
I thought that's what Jamie.
No, we're the project manager, the supervisors. So either you could come up with a letter to be sent from the office, signed by the chairman or chairperson, or instruct our office to do it. But we'll
I
be
think we
speaking
need to do
before the
that.
board of supervisors.
they're not being pushed enough, and that way Marshman can pass it on, and we're pushing him to get it done. So we have to whip up some letter, run it by you, and then.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about El Ramo.
So can we put that on the agenda for next, I mean, me personally, if we're doing this, I'd like it to go right from Sweat's office.
Yes.
Because we've been waiting a long time. I think it's a good idea, but I think we need to put it on the agenda for an approved deny for next meeting. Does that sound okay to the board?
Yeah,
They draw it up, you know, some of the particulars.
Yeah, well, we gotta refer to the contract to the completion date. I understand about rain, bad weather, but.
Our next meeting's the 13th, correct? Yeah, so you're in the middle of one.
Okay. And then, so as far as contract goes, is everybody familiar with our Veterans Memorial Park contract? I mean, we really went over that thoroughly back in 2019 with Sweat Law Office for Veterans Park usage, and it covers everything. And as far as people who are renting it to, you know, flush and not abuse anything, and to restock with toilet paper if it's a big party, and everything's covered. I just thought the board needs to decide if you want a rental fee. I think that's the only issue.
I got a question on that. Do we or do we not pay somebody to clean the restrooms?
We have not been doing it since COVID.
Oh, that's right.
Albert's been doing it. He goes.
I thought
down-
we hired a company. I thought we did that last year. We hired a company to clean the restrooms.
He resigned, or so whoever did it didn't want to do it anymore, and then
and Albert's just been doing it.
Yeah, because we need to hold the coaches accountable for that bathrooms. Because the picture that Albert showed me the other day wasn't pretty. And I think these coaches, and I think we need to send a letter to all our coaches that they need to inspect the bathrooms when they get there.
I've made signs to.
And they need to inspect them bathrooms when they leave. If not, we're gonna hold them accountable and we're gonna charge them for
Then
cleaning.
we have to send him up every day, because they practice Monday through Friday.
Yeah, so we need to send a letter to the board.
Well, it's in our contract though. We have language in the contract on keeping and maintaining the bathrooms, so.
That we have to do it?
No, that they're responsible.
Yeah, they're not doing it. I mean, we need to hold them accountable for it.
Be reminded.
Yeah.
It's their obligation.
Yeah,
So, can we put that on the agenda?
we're paying a road crew guy to go clean bathrooms.
Let's put that on the agenda to discuss that for the next meeting, and maybe contact, some of the coaches at Reza, or whoever's running, and maybe give a general reminder. Okay, so back to the issue at hand. Now, you all think about this contract in the new park at Veterans Memorial Park. Should we put a rental fee? There's already a contract in place. We can add Veterans Memorial Rama Park's name to it. The staff needs to know so they can, start doing rentals. What do you guys want to do as far as rental fees, if any?
For El Ramo.
Yes,
For El Ramo?
yes?
I would say, like you said, let it be free for a while. And
For the year,
Yeah, for the first year, and,
We'll discuss
definitely
it.
get your name on the list if you wanna rent it, maybe get a deposit just in case something goes wrong.
100%.
And then,
Will the bathrooms be open all the time, or just opened up for?
They'll have keys that they'll have to
Whoever-
come and get when they rent the park, and then return the, on
We'll have
Monday.
to have someone for those bathrooms as well then.
So if the board wants to consider, maybe you have this on the agenda, the board can consider advertising again for someone part-time to clean the bathrooms. We've done that in the past.
Yeah, for both parties.
Yeah, because all these issues are coming up, let's just make a whole new agenda.
And also, the people who are renting our parks, they do not get their deposits back until we go and inspect the bathrooms.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
That's
because if they're dirty and they're not clean, they forfeit the deposit.
That's exactly.
Okay, what do you want for a security deposit then for there?
$100.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I think it's adequate to cover the cleaning and.
Well, we already have a security deposit in our contract for veterans memorial.
Yeah, for
So what is it?
$150.
Oh, okay.
For resident.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But they get that
They get it
back
back,
as
yeah.
long as the conditions are met. I'm fine with that if the board is. So then basically discuss,
Well, I got, what are we gonna do for non-residents?
Don't rent them.
I think it's 100, It's 150 for residents and
But if we do El
200 for
Rama, if we
non-residents.
do El Rama,
The
El Rama residents are free and non-resident, they have to pay.
No, we're talking about the security
the
deposit.
security deposit currently is 150 for non-residents and
No. 150 for resident, 200 for non-resident.
I would keep that
I
on the
would
same.
too.
And
But my opinion is keep it the same, but make it, you know, no rental fee for the El
For
Ramo
residents.
Park. I don't think there's enough there, and I think the residents in the village of El Ramo waited
Been
a
a
long
long
time.
time.
Do you think we should allow non-residents to rent the park at no charge?
No, that's what I was getting.
No.
Okay.
That's kind of what I was.
Non-residents should have to
I
pay
think they should have.
to rent the El Ramo Park.
at the same price they rent veterans.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
It's free to our residents, but if a non-resident wants to come in and rent El Ramo Park, I feel like we should charge them. You know?
We have a free park rental.
Yeah.
Everybody from all over the communities. come
Yeah.
in.
Well, that's exactly what
Yeah.
happened.
And that's exactly, yeah.
Okay, so we're clear? Free for residents? You got that,
And
Terry?
then what's the charge for non-resident?
What's it for veterans? 200?
Non-resident is 100.
I would keep it the same,
150
whatever.
rental.
Yeah, whatever it is for the veterans, it's the same for El Rama, but it's free for residents. Is everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, discussion operational assessment ordinance recommendation provided at March 9th, 2022 meeting.
So this is a list of ordinances, that Mike Silvestri recommended that we take a look at. I asked the board, I provided it at the meeting as you were sitting down. And I was hoping that you guys would have some sort of priority on what you would like addressed first. If not, I'll just go ahead and address them as I see fit, and we'll put one or two on every agenda and we'll chip away at it.
What is it?
I haven't, that was on my to-do list and I failed to do it. I have to table myself till next meeting. I didn't spend any time on it. Hope I sorry about that.
I'll just start chipping away at it, and if anyone wants to bring up a priority item at the next meeting and everyone agrees, then that'll be put at the top of the list.
Can we keep this on the agenda to remind
Absolutely.
all of us? Okay, next item, number 4, discuss American Rescue Plan funding. Terry.
Yeah, can someone turn the screen on? I don't need it for this item,
I don't
but
know.
next one. Mr. Askin is the IT guy. So, very, very quickly, I know that we've sort of exhausted this topic, but I just wanted to reiterate for clarity that currently with the final decision for American Rescue Plan funding, when you are all deciding what you would like that money to go to, that's for your organizational financial purposes only. We do not have to designate that lump sum to any one thing. It'll go in a separate account, but basically it can be used for almost all general fund purposes. So we don't have to designate that for American Rescue Fund purposes. That would be not just for your interworkings. And I just wanted to make sure that was clear. I think I might have been a little misleading at the last meeting.
Perfect. Any questions for Terry on that?
No, it's good.
Okay, 5, discuss active road project tracking map. Terry.
This was on, asked of me to get together at the last meeting, to make sure that all of the road projects that we're working on are somewhere, so we make sure that we're on top of them. Excuse me while I adjust my screen. So I threw this together, based off of the projects that have been brought up at the board table or via complaints that we're actively working on, which is the yellow little teardrop symbol. Then the star is something that's been completed already, and again, this is just for the last couple of weeks. This is not every road project, obviously. And then the red is an infrastructure issue that we've identified either by the road crew or by Harshman in their 2022 recommendation, so that we have all of the items that are or should be on our radar in one place when we're going to prioritize and we're going to look at things. It'll help me make sure that I'm working to manage active projects and they're getting done. So this is just something that I put together to prove that, yeah, no, it's on my list.
Excellent, excellent.
And you know, we can click on this, and this can be accessible to the road crew, to staff, and board. You can click on the items, and they show up the status, where it is, the issue description, contractor if necessary, all sorts of things like that. And then we can go back and check, you know, when this was completed as they are getting completed. So
perfect. Thank
Comment,
you so much.
Terry, are you getting a calendar date of the projects that we want done from the road crew?
So this was just based off of the list that road crew had given Dave and he shared with the board last time, and I just honestly finished this today, so I haven't gotten dates, but I can absolutely add dates, go talk to them, and
You should get together with Dave and get the priority and get them to put a date after it so it gets done.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I got one question. On your dots,
Mm-hmm.
can we change the colors?
Yeah.
They all look the same color.
Oh, okay, Dave. I'll make them different shapes.
I'm looking at that, I'm like, yeah, can't see them.
I'll make them different shapes for
There
you.
you go. Perfect.
There's only two colors. Except for this green star, which is blue right now, because I clicked on it. But Dave's colorblind, so
Yeah.
he can't see the difference between the yellow and the red. So, yes.
Shapes are good.
Shapes, got it.
Is that it, Terry?
Are we moving on to item 6?
Yes.
Okay, discuss pumpkin center slide and letter to gas company. Terry?
Sean?
Sean?
Sure, per your guys' request at the last meeting, I put together a letter to the gas company, which is Enterprise Products, and their local office is located out in Greensburg. Sent them a certified letter alerting them of the issue, the township's concerns regarding safety and potential damage to private and public property. Eventually, it got into the hands of the regional supervisor out there, and he gave me a call. He said that they're going to be addressing it, and he lined up a contractor to come fix it. I know that since then I haven't heard anything. I shot an email over to the contact over there, and he said that he's going to be helming this going forward and to just contact him regarding it. So he said that they do have a contractor, and I just mentioned that make sure you keep the township up to date with progress, any scheduling, so the township can be sure to alert nearby residents, you know, drive safe on the road during this time. And at that point I introduced him to Terry via email so she could just follow up with him and track it for you guys.
Thank you for the persistence, Sean, of you, Terry, Bobby, and Rick, and Dave. You guys were instrumental.
Hopefully they dig it up.
And yeah, look, from the letter I read, they're on it. So excellent work. Thank you so much. It saved the township money. Thank you again, to all of you. Any questions or thoughts on that item? Okay, 7, discuss plugged pipe under Route 88.
So I went out and met with representatives from PennDOT and Brian McCroskey
With Scarmazy.
from Scarmazy. So just basically this pipe issue is being addressed, it is being worked on. PennDOT and Brian are gonna keep me in the loop because it is a state road, because the issue of unplugging the pipe might, is going to take some maintenance on PennDOT's part. They're coordinating to get that done. I'm gonna be kept in the loop, and hopefully that'll be resolved, and very soon I'll be able to report that. And check that off.
Again, another kudos for the persistence and keeping on it and getting these things off our list. Thank you so
Put
much,
that on
everybody.
Website, Facebook, whatever.
Yeah. Updates on Facebook. Yep, that's a good
At
idea.
least state's looking at it.
8, discuss EMS.
Yes. The EMS, I'm still in conversation with several EMS agencies. Don't have a report for you yet because they're talking with their boards and coming back to me. So just wanted to keep it on the agenda so everyone knows it's still being worked on, still being looked at, still an active project.
Have we received all right to know requests back on donations, Bob?
Yes.
Okay, so the
There
ones,
was- There was one that I have not gotten back, but they did ask for an extension.
okay, so I re-looked at that today because I think the last time it was sent was pretty close to our last meeting, and I guess I missed it. I don't even know we had a chart. I missed that. I looked at the individual right to knows, but from my observation of that chart, Union Township was the third highest donor out of the 9 communities. Is that correct?
Yes.
The fourth.
Elizabeth, no, Jefferson Hills was first, Elizabeth was second, and Union was third.
Oh, my bad. So
Yeah, we were
I'll
third.
stop talking. Not my wheelhouse.
I did see it I did see a comment on Facebook about if we stick with serums, that putting a, I don't know who put it on Facebook, I'll put a $5 charge on all the residents to pay for serums.
Can I correct you?
Yes.
It was me. I said,
I seen it somewhere.
who would be against pitching in the $5?
I pay
That's all I
$70.
said.
Okay, time out, excuse me, so,
That's all I
so
said.
just, I want you to
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah.
And if you could note for the record, the resident who.
Denise
spoke.
Burgley Puglisi.
Okay,
Jefferson
and,
Hills.
sorry. Supervisor.
There's I guess it's not a fundraiser, it's
Like a membership?
yes, membership, couldn't get that word out. A membership that I pay $70 a year to. It's a family membership, and in our residents, less than 14% of our residents subscribe to that. And I think that, think about it, if Serums would get $70 for every household, how much money that they would be getting? They wouldn't be asking for $30,000 because luckily I've had to use it and it's great. I'll pay the $70 every year. But if we look at it in 2023, I think we need to look at putting something on or doing some kind of a push to get the residents to, whether it's a single, you can do it different ways. You can do it a family or a single, and it's different, it's priced differently. And talking to the guys from Serums and finding out that less than 14% of our residents do that, that's pretty bad.
We do it here.
What's that?
I get billed $350 as a subscription rate for the township here.
For the staff.
I do a
I've
check
never
every
gotten
year.
anything in the mail.
I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, we get something every year in the mail, and we just,
We've never gotten anything.
The graph that you did, the only problem that I have with the graph is on Union Township's donations, you included the 2022 money that we gave them, but you only included 2022 for Union Township, not for any of the other communities. Also, I had reached out to Mr. Pasco because I was a little confused because I know some people that are on boards in other communities and their numbers that they were telling me weren't anything similar to these numbers. So I reached out and I asked, is it possible the word donation versus contribution could be the reason for the different numbers? So there are some of these communities that actually do it as a tax, a payroll tax, $1 a week out of their employees. So they're not calling it a donation, they're calling it a tax. I did forward to Roberta and Terry some copies of some checks and some things that these other communities gave Serums, so that this could be maybe reworked. And I guess you can.
So
I forwarded the Doug Pasco conversation.
yeah, and I'm sorry I didn't contact you about this prior. I was busy getting ready for the meeting. But what you sent me is what you sent to Doug and our chart, but I didn't get any attachments. You might not have forwarded the attachments.
Maybe. I'll do it now.
Okay.
So there's copies of checks from all the
Yeah, I didn't
communities
get,
and.
so we thought that you were just telling us that you reached out, we didn't know you got a response.
Okay, yeah, I think some of the confusion is, some of them are calling it a donation. They're calling it a contribution. Some of them charge it as a tax out of the, instead of having the $10 a year that goes to schools, they went up to the $56 a year or whatever. And they use that as an emergency, service tax.
Well, it'd be an
So it's-
interesting, sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay.
Interesting strategy for us to look into if that's something we're interested in, and I appreciate
I would
the documents.
like to know that information, like if there's, the other municipalities are taxing the residents, that's
Well,
totally different, in my opinion, than a donation contribution, but I would like to know that, so to help us plan. And I hate to suggest this, but is it possible that we do another right to know that encompasses contribution, donation, tax assessment, so we can find out how these other communities are doing this?
We do charge that tax. I don't know what we do with it, but that tax is already charged here. But I don't know what.
LST, local service.
Local service tax. They use their local service tax for their ambulance service. I don't know what we do with ours, but, it's supposed to go to local services.
What's the percentage that we charge?
It's a flat rate. Most places are $53. The city of Pittsburgh was $100.
What, do we have that here?
We do.
Yes.
We moved up from the
Any
$10 a
employer,
year.
if you wherever you work,
Yeah.
that money is taken out. That goes to that area.
Oh, okay.
So I work over in Munhall. My money stays with Munhall.
Yeah.
And it's be used for services like that.
And I know other municipalities have in their, in most of the residents don't even know, there's an emergency tax, and I think Lenny, you, isn't it Pleasant Hills that has that?
Yeah, Jefferson Hills, I believe, has it too.
Yeah.
I can't speak for them. but-
That's why they have $500,000 fire trucks and.
Right. And
Yeah.
and they split that money up between the EMS and the fire department.
Yeah.
You know,
So,
which, that's what it's coming to in all the communities, but,
Yeah.
we're a little behind times, but.
Yeah.
Might be something to look at.
It would help you guys out.
Right, most definitely.
I just want to comment also that the local service tax is not just, to my knowledge, is not just for EMS.
Right.
It also goes to our,
The services.
yeah, so just wanted to clarify there. And additionally, I know that, in our, I'm looking forward to seeing, new numbers and new data that we have and, updating our chart. But I do know that some of the municipalities, it wasn't their way that they collected the tax then was a donation to and was a contribution to the,
yes.
so it did show up in some of the municipalities, although it might not have shown up in all the municipalities, so we'll certainly update that and we can do new right to knows.
I'm sorry for the extra work, but I really think we should have clear information, not your fault, but when we talk about LST and the 511 taxes, all of those taxes, to my knowledge, we'd have to check with Frank Palermo, go back into the general fund. And, when we are paying any type of donation contribution, I think it's all coming from a pool, unless we've specifically budgeted. And even if we budgeted for it, it's still coming from revenue earned from taxes. So it's like a circular thing. It's still money we have to spend. But I think it's good points, and I think if we can get some more information, so we can really have that. We have some time anyway, because we're still waiting for other boards and some more information to trickle in. Bobby, I'm sorry to put more work on you on that, but do you think you could clarify with another right to know?
The email that I sent you does have the canceled checks with it, so you'll see all the actual and the way that they got it. I just reached out to the EMS service rather than writing all the right to knows, and they sent me back copies of all the checks.
I got the right PDF now.
Okay.
Okay, great, wonderful. So if everybody's okay, we can move on to Davison Avenue, number 9.
Davison, did I interrupt?
No, I just said pipe. I don't want to yell that pipe.
Pipes! It's exciting stuff. Davidson Avenue Pipe Replacement Project, we had an estimate from Harshman based off of their 2022 recommendation for projects. Had Sean put that, just that piece on letterhead that I sent to Piscaric's office, waiting to hear back from them on options for funding. So far, I did get one response just today from the not secretary, office staff over there that stated that the first couple of funding options they looked into, we are not eligible for. So they're looking into more, and hopefully I'll have an update on that, and we can get some funding for that some way, shape, or form.
The one grant that we were eligible for ended on the 15th, unfortunately.
On the, Harshman, where do you guys have it going down? Down through the apron or going across the street, down and back across the street? What did we?
When we looked at it, it was
reject?
from. Yeah, I can't recall all the roads off the top of my head, but there's a inlet at the top down to the next inlet down at the bottom of that road. So it's how many feet did you say was there?
It was coming down.
Hold on, let me pull up my map.
But are you ever projected to go straight down through all them concrete
Yeah,
areas?
it's basically just a redo of the pipe that was already there, other than being new pipe instead of just a bunch of different pipes added over time. As the next house down got built, they probably
I'll
threw
tell you,
another
Mr.
pipe.
Bell said he jackhammered his driveway up himself if he could get a pipe over there, so I think he's pretty
Well,
amicable about
the
getting
problem is with it's not the jackhammering it up, it's the utilities all run through that concrete apron. The gas, the water, it would be easier to go across the road, down the other side of the road, and cross back over the road. Correct?
I think it would be.
It would be less costly, because we don't have to worry about hitting, if our guys more likely are gonna get out and do it, so that we don't hit any of the lines, jackhammering it up. I mean, it's something we gotta look at. Is it, whose property's across the street?
I don't know.
Okay, we'd have to
I
find
went
out.
over with Dave, putting it in the right of way. I
Yeah.
turned it over to him. I'm out of Davison Avenue.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you do, my suggestion, if you do end up crossing the road, taking it down the road, and crossing it back, you want to have some sort of structure, like a manhole or an inlet or something, wherever you're really changing the direction of the pipes, just because sediment's going to want to accumulate at all those bends, so you want to have something there that.
Yeah, we were talking about
access
putting,
point.
like, where the catch basin is, coming across the street on an angle, have a catch basin there, go down, have another catch basin, and then back over to the other catch basin. That way, and like you say, if anything does clog, we can get the jetter in there and clean it up.
Okay, so are we gonna communicate that with the road department?
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask Terry, they got any date on that?
No.
I was just working on the funding side of it, I haven't talked to her through yet.
We're gonna be doing Davison ourselves. Gotta get them.
Yeah.
Get a date.
Going back to, I know we didn't get
You good?
Log drawing. We get the log.
We already did logs run.
Oh.
You wanna talk about it? Go ahead.
Hey, just so the logs run, we already have all the stuff.
Okay.
We have all the stone is at the, Nike site. We,
Dave, we're gonna interrupt you. They didn't have the big stuff delivered from Nike site, did they?
yeah, he was ordering stone every day. He was just ordering, Albert was ordering
You can't
stone.
haul that big stuff on our truck. You destroy the bodies.
Yeah, I found out Friday that we had the 6s and 7s delivered to the township building.
Wow.
Nike site.
Did you explain to them how we're gonna dump stone on the road and dump the big stuff? Wow.
We have the stone and everything at the building. It's up at the Nike site. We just gotta get down and get it done.
Okay, 10, discuss purchase of Weezus sewage, including metal detector, rangefinder, handheld GPS, and payment out of Weezus maintenance fund. Rick, this was yours if we didn't bid it out.
Correct. But since we're bidding it out, we ought to get that off of there.
Okay, sounds good. Anybody else have thoughts or comments on that? 11, discuss IT provider status. Terry's got, and Bobby, it's good news on this one.
Yeah. So, long and short of it, for the same service, we are now going to be paying $687.35 to Advent a month instead of $900, whatever.
Good job.
Good job, Rick. That was Rick that brought that all to attention. And not that Terry didn't do the work, but that was
Yeah,
99%
that was
Rick.
cool. So we're actually gonna save $7.65 than if we would have gone with the other one, plus not the hassle of going over. So thanks, Rick. And we have to. The contract is the same. All of the things are the same. The only slight change that occurred was that I did want to bring to the board's attention was that previously, when this is what Paul, our account manager, told me, we used a government email account like E3 Government Enterprise, which no other municipalities that they service or in our area use, but that was requested specifically by, I believe, the last project manager that set this up, and he had no reason to recommend this more expensive email platform, and no other municipalities use it. It's just as secure, just as whatever. So that we did change, but the rest of it was just finagling some numbers and.
Cool.
Great. So thank you so much. Okay, any other thoughts on 11? 12, discuss the spring newsletter.
In everyone's packets, there's a very rough copy of the spring newsletter, just to sort of get something visually in front of you. Obviously, the pictures of the strangers will not stay. It will be pictures of people we know. And there's some, X's, insert this here. Just wanted to see what you all thought about the topics being addressed. If you had things you wanted to sub out, please tell me now or bring that to my attention and we can rearrange. Don't hit me with spelling errors yet. I haven't gone through that, but just big picture topics.
I don't know how Dave feels about it, but the front page with the new employees and the elected officials, I'd rather be taken out and put the dog in from the police department. He is a new officer in our community. I don't need to be in there as an elected official. I don't know how Dave feels, because you're in the newsletter too as a newly elected. On the front page it has about new employees and newly elected officials. But if Dave's okay with it, I'd rather be taken out and put a picture of the new officer we have.
I can also
And it's
keep
nice for the
mentioning our
community.
new people and put a picture of the dog. No.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Terry, I thought it was awesome, and I like the legal update section, and I know we've been anxious to speak on legal, so I hope that Attorney Sweat can add some up-to-date, because that's the questions I receive daily.
It's questions I received. I had
Everybody
one
wants-
today.
Okay, everybody wants to know why we're spending so much on legal, and until we're able to really speak, I think we need to inform the public up till now what's going on.
I agree. I have a comment on it, Terry. I like what you did. You gotta update the rental fees that you have on there for what we announced.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
do you think we should put in there Veteran Park free for the year because of something new?
I think so.
Put that in there too.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's all I have.
And maybe put something along the lines of book early, because
We're gonna do Veterans Park free, or El Rey?
I'm for that too.
El Rey.
Yeah, that's fine. No Rayma.
Wait, we don't vote free then?
No,
Oh, okay.
just no Rayma.
Will it be out in time for the spring cleanup park day?
That's the goal.
Because if so, I'd like that to be bigger in there. It's not that, it's underneath where the rec board has pictures of the Santa.
Sure.
It's just, you barely notice it down there. Like, if it's an exciting new event, it'd be nice to see somewhere.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. 10, discuss purchase of, 13, discuss safety inspection as performed by Optimus Risk Service, mandated training for office staff, service of road crew. Bobby.
Okay, she came in, did her inspection, everything was good, there's only one mandated training she wants, supervisor, staff, and road crew to go through. So I'm trying to schedule that when it's convenient that everybody can be there.
Okay.
It's active shooter training.
Okay.
So I'm trying to schedule that with Kevin Harris and Ryan Lindsay now.
Oh, who's up this with the insurance company? I thought that's odd. They got the supervisors doing training.
That's what they want everybody to be prepared.
Find out if I have to tell them I'm a treasurer and I'm not going out on the roads anymore.
Okay.
Deb, you'll be there, right?
14, complaint and if I'm going too fast, please stop me, everyone. 14, complaint regarding Consolidated Rail Corp. along 837. Bobby.
Okay, one of the officers from Mon City called me and said he noticed, you have pictures in your packets. People are thinking that's a trash dump down there.
Oh, is that where that's at?
It looks like some of it's the rail, it might be the railroad property, some is another property down there, and Harshman just wants to know who they should go after more. And you see the pictures of all the trash and the bags and the junk down there.
Violating the ordinance, they have to do it.
I just didn't want to assume anything.
My opinion
You
is.
wanna go after the railroad.
I was gonna ask you right after that.
I think going after the I think if they are informed that their property that's happening, maybe they'll come down and clean it up or
Okay.
enforce. I mean, Gary, I know the ordinance.
Okay.
Let them know.
That's my opinion. Anybody else, please speak up.
No, I agree.
Should we move on?
Yes. Yep.
15, discuss possible use of a third party to have closed caption on Facebook live streaming. Are there interpreters within the township that would be willing to volunteer their services for meetings for the hearing impaired?
This was brought up by a concerned citizen at the last meeting. I just wanted to clarify that, yes, Facebook does do automatic closed captioning. However, only if the quality is good enough. And that's something that we have gotten feedback on, that because the iPad is in the back of the room and not connected to our microphones, the quality suffers. Thus, Facebook won't automatically generate captions. So, we sort of have a couple of options moving forward. Bobby brought a really good point. Is there, some of the other local community organizations have volunteer interpreters that may or may not be willing to do that. So we encourage anybody who knows anyone to, come forward if they might be interested, because that's an awesome option to improve accessibility here in the township. Additionally, to get closed captioning, I think that we have a couple of options. One, we can do a sort of third-party transcribing thing, which is it's relatively inexpensive, that we could look into and I could get prices on if that's something you're interested in, but I didn't want to do the work ahead of time. Second option that I can try and look into is work with our company that does the speakers and everything in here and get a direct feed into the iPad from what the microphones pick up, which is what Bobby uses to do the minutes as well. So that might clear it up enough for citizens listening, also for Facebook to be able to do it automatically. Wanted to get the board's opinion on which direction you would like me to pursue, or both, or first.
Do you know any other townships do this, or have done it? Or have you contacted any? I don't know.
I have
I'm just
not,
curious.
I have not looked into.
Because it'd be interesting to see what trials and tribulations they went through.
Yeah, I can certainly reach out. I don't even know any municipalities, and I'm sure they exist, but I don't personally know of any municipalities that
Does Peters Township?
tape it.
Live stream?
Yeah, I think they all do now, I think a lot of them do.
I don't think so.
How many municipalities do you do?
I've watched Jefferson's, I've watched Carroll.
South Park.
Peters has it on like a TV
There you go.
station thing. Yeah. But
We don't
the,
need as much.
the young lady that films the Washington County Commissioners meetings is Willis Abel's granddaughter. She just has it close by and the captions come on for her. I think it was just that it's closer. I don't think that it's anything special, but you could ask her.
That's what I'm saying, reach out to other places that have done this before we spend a lot of money on it.
Yeah, I think that she just has the tripod closer to the commissioners than the back of the room, and I think it's that easy. She listens to some of the people that film it here, but even theirs gets messed up because of the, I think public comments said public condoms last time. But just it being closer made at least most of the words come out. So if there is, I think it's Gracie, one of the able film it for the commissioners.
That's the Washington County Commissioners?
Yeah. Mineral Beach or, her family owns. So she's local here, and I don't think she does anything special.
I will say that any closer, the reason that I have it in the back there is because any closer and you can't see the whole board, the professionals and the speaker specifically, so we can do closer if the board doesn't.
Okay, item G, bill pay list approval. Number one, approved denied payroll dated March 18, 2022 in the amount of $13,510.73 for 2 administration, 3 road crew, and 1 tax collector. I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I'll second the motion to approve $13,510.73 for 2 administration, 3 road crew, 1 tax collector.
Their motion, Lawson second. Any deliberation? Roll call, please.
Ms. Dare?
Yes.
Ms. Dupree?
Yes.
Mr. Eskin?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Trax?
Yes.
Okay, item 2. Before we go into the second bill pay, I wanted to offer to all the supervisors, I know we changed the office staff procedure. I made a recommendation to the office, and they got everything ready for review by Monday. So it gave supervisors close to 3 business days to review for bills, and hopefully that worked out for everyone. If not, I'm prepared to go tonight line by line through the bill pay. So to give everybody an ample opportunity to feel like they can vote on bills, and we can ask Bobby if she has any questions. How does the board feel about that?
I'm okay with that going through each bill.
I'm good like always.
You guys want to do that? Go through bill line by
I don't
line?
think you need to. I had an opportunity to talk to Sean about any questions I had on the first bill.
Okay, great.
So good.
Madam Chairman, my understanding that Marshman's bill is gonna be challenged?
No.
I don't
Oh, I
know.
thought you said you.
No, I said I had a chance to talk to Sean with any questions I had.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to state that bill's been sitting in the office March 3rd,
Okay.
when I approved it.
Okay. All right, that sounds good then. We don't have to go line by line if everybody's okay with that. And so item 2 would be approved denied bill pay list for the Brentwood Bank general account in the amount of $136,092.85.
Brentwood Bank general account in the amount of $136,092.85.
Okay. Any seconds?
I'll second the bill pay list out of the Brentwood Bank general account.
Okay. Lawson motion, Deskin second. Any deliberation? Okay, roll call please.
Mr. Trax?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Eskin?
Yep.
Ms. Dupree?
Yes.
Ms. Dare?
Yes. Item 3, approved denied bill pay list for the Brentwood El Rama sewage account in the amount of $6,598.61. I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I'll second the motion to pay out of the Brentwood Bank El Rama sewage account the amount of $6,598.61.
Okay, Dare motion, Lawson second. Any deliberation? Roll call please.
Ms. Dare?
Yes.
Mr. Eskin?
Yes.
Ms. Dupree?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Trax?
Yes.
H, number 1, received call from Washington County Assistance Office introducing new programs to help the county residents and with their water and sewage bills. It's on our website and we have pamphlets here.
Well, I have the information in the website that they can go on. I don't have actual pamphlets,
Okay,
but they will help residents with water and sewage up to $2,500.
excellent. So
Contact
please
me for the information and I can
keep that
steer you that way.
updated and refreshed on our Facebook page, please. And any resident, please utilize that if you are in need of that. Okay, item number 2, correspondence from Robert J. and N. Lee Fink regarding Sarah well pad concerns. We all had that in our packet, and we have that on the record. Or not on the official record, but we have that in our packets. And we keep that in a file in the township. And stop me if anyone has any thoughts or concerns. Item 3, correspondence and attachments from Todd McIntyre from Zero Energy, redevelopment on the Mitchell Station and the Canistrell redevelopment. So I think that's gonna develop.
This was just a general email, and there was about 60 pages of attachments of different projects. I don't know if it's legit or not, so I just figured I'd let you guys see the email from him doing a description.
Okay.
The Mitchell Station. That on
37.
I got it.
I mean, if you want me to
I got
look
nothing.
into it further or
Nope.
copies of the documents, I'll be more than happy to do that.
I think just have one here on file in case
I didn't
anybody in
think
the
it was
township wants to
perfect
see.
copy in it for all of you.
I just want to make sure it's what it was. The Mitchell Fire Station.
Okay.
Okay, and last one, 4 correspondence received regarding the Macintosh compressor station. And we have that on file as well. And did the solicitor see that? Is there anything that the solicitor has comment on that
I
correspondence?
emailed that to you too, Gary.
You did?
Yeah.
Is it in this packet?
Bobby, do you wanna, well, I'll let Gary can read it, and if he has any concerns or wants to put it on the agenda for any other action, he can let us know. While he's looking at that, we can move on to public comment. Any other further public comment?
This has a really short meeting and then it's.
Oh.
Certainly.
In case you're still exploring, Terry, do I need to give you my name again? Janet Hollingsworth,
Yes, please.
69 Hobbit Lane. Sorry. I was thinking too of, CalU has a really good speech language therapy program. So if there's a student that might need to get out and do, not a student teaching type thing, but that might be something you could look into. That won't cost you anything. You're welcome. And then, Mr. Sweat, are the conditions that you read off that this evening, the long list, will those be available to the public somehow, or just referring back to?
They'll be, when the minutes are ready,
Okay,
they'll be attached
Okay.
to the motion.
thank you.
Also, Ms. Hollingsworth, sorry to interrupt. I have a copy on my desk right now, and if, anybody wants to come in and view them.
Okay, can we make copies of them if we,
Copies
they're-
cost whatever the copy fee is, 25
I can
cents a
give you
fee.
mine.
But you can also take pictures of them
Okay.
if you want them digitally.
That's what I did.
okay, thank you. And then just an odd thing that I saw, and I don't know if you read what's going on when things are live streamed, but Doug Pasco posted that he was never reached out to be invited to that emergency meeting, so, just because we were talking about the emergency situation, so, thank you.
Hey, thank you very much.
Can I make a comment on that?
Absolutely.
Doug Pastor was texting me going this too. The day, a couple of days before that, I had reached out to Stephanie to see who was all coming to the training. And she told me she did not have a good contact for EMS, which is true. So I said, well, I'll reach out to somebody. Well, in the talk, I was talking to their assistant chief. It was the day before, I told him, I said, hey, we got this training tomorrow, are you coming? So, I do want to make that comment that I did tell him it was the day before, it wasn't weeks before, but it was the day before.
Okay, perfect, thank
Thank
you
you,
for
Lynn.
clearing the record, Lenny.
I
Okay.
can comment on that.
Oh, yes.
This is consistent with what I've been telling the board. This is a report of violation details and inspection items from the DEP for violation at the Macintosh compressor site of their ESCGP1 permit. And this proves that they inspect, they issue citations, and they coordinate, these violations with the operator. It's within their jurisdiction, not ours.
Okay.
This confirms it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I did read that, but on the emails. I read that in the email.
Okay, public comment?
Kevin Dare, 6187 Rod Easy. Lenny, I'm glad you came tonight because it cleared up some information about the response time that you had to the Macintosh station. Listening to what you said tonight, you guys do an awful lot of work, and I appreciate it, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people in the township that appreciate it. And a lot of training goes into that, a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff goes into it, you being the emergency coordinator for the township with all this EQT stuff and other stuff that happens in the township, and I do appreciate it. And keep doing what you're doing, and be careful. Tell your guys that too.
Thank you. Any other public comment? I would like to thank the residents who are here tonight. Some of them commented that they haven't been here for a while or if ever, and I'm really happy to see new faces. Thank you for sitting through all of this. We really appreciate it. We appreciate you being here. Any other, I have a couple remarks real quick, but I'll go last if you all have some.
I do.
Okay.
I asked Bobby Singer to give me some receipts and copies. We've had some warranty problems with the work Hill International's doing with our trucks We had to haul the trucks back and forth. I'm putting this back in for somebody, anybody. I don't care. I am not doing this anymore. I'm tired of doing it for nothing and being criticized. It's only about $2,000 or $3,000. I argue all the time and I get criticized for it. The Veterans Park. I observed we have about 15, 20 trees that should come out along the third baseline behind the backstop because a couple fell over with that last storm and it would have hit the backstop and it would have hit the new fence. We need to clear 15, 20 trees on the hill going up, either get a tree guy to come in there. I think you could just cut the stump, cut it off flush, throw some mulch on it, or remove them, grade it up. But that really needs to be looked at before the fence goes up.
I'm sorry, this was at Veterans.
Pardon me?
Did you say this was at Veterans Park?
He did.
Okay.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, she said, did you say it was Veterans Park?
Veterans Park,
I
yeah.
just didn't.
I'll sketch it on the drawing with Sean and you guys, but I'm not going down there either. There's also a low point down there in an open pipe that all the parking lot should be graded there, and in my opinion, they should have an inlet installed there. If we're going to put 2 hydrants, frost-free hydrants to water the field down there, they should be installed and through and under the drains before they put the drains in and before the fence goes in. I will also sketch out with Sean, and I'll give him what information I have on the meter pit. I am not doing that anymore either. Going down to Veterans Park on the right-hand side, there's been a on that road where the guys cut grass ever since I started on this board. And in my opinion, it should be fixed. It looks terrible. Plus, our guys are gonna flip a motor over there. It needs fixed. I'll point that out to Sean. I'm not. We need to get a schedule from the road crew and get some of the projects done. That's all I have.
Terry and Bobby, can we put this on the agenda, just a little punch list of all the items Rick just mentioned, so we could get it on the board for approval, if there's any bids that need on trees and water pit, hydrants, stuff that Rick was talking about, and if anything, the board can discuss it and then get a possible punch list and a date.
There's a lot of things that Rick says he's not gonna do anymore, which shows how much he was doing.
Yeah.
He's doing a lot.
So a couple things, I don't wanna jump in front of anybody, does anybody else have any other comments? Supervisors? Okay, first of all, thank you, Rick. Rick donated that plasma screen back there years ago. We didn't use it because we were COVID and all that other stuff. I know it's been being used lately, and thank you, Rick. That's coming in real handy for everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, I got a call from the property owner that has the holding tank right before the meeting tonight. With all these rains and freeze thaws, there's a real mess on the Barna property. Roadmasters, what can we do? I mean, this is not an agenda item tonight, but it's kind of, it's an emergency, so.
We're gonna have to come take a look at it.
Set a pump and.
Is it from the trucks?
No, I think it's from, I think it's from the water and the overflow, even though we pump. It's damaging the ground, his grass,
It
and
literally
really.
flows out of there. I've gone past there when it's raining. It's literally coming out through the top and the side.
Like a fountain.
We need to do something. He's been very, very patient.
I think that this needs to be noted on the record for any, in this mediation settlement. But is there anything that the roadmasters can suggest for the road crew to do to clean up that area? Can we send the road crew up there as this?
Stormwater, is it sewage?
Both.
It's a mix of
Maybe send a
everything.
road crew up for storage.
I mean, I swapped around in that more than once, and I'm not
right.
good.
Yeah, we're gonna have to send them up there. To do what? I got,
If you send the road crew up there, all they can do is put the dirt back in that the overflow's washing out. I talked to Jamie a long time ago when we saw the overflow. I suggested put a pipe in. He says that's really illegal to direct sewage water into the creek. So we've got to do something in communication to Mr. Barner to make it happen. we gotta get up there and do something.
So can we put this on the agenda?
I'll coordinate with,
Oh, I'm sorry. go
no,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, you were talking before I started. Go ahead.
I don't know what to do.
It's emergency. Have Jamie go up and, okay.
I was just gonna say I can coordinate making sure that it gets looked at and it's on the next agenda at the very least, if not fixed before then.
The board have any comments? So go ahead, please, please.
Well, it was all done before I was on the board, so I was gonna ask Sean to try to get some information about, like, I don't have any particulars about that tank whatsoever, so I don't really have a game plan of even exactly what yard it's in. I don't know where Mr. Barnett particularly lives, so.
I was also down there through a whole lot of it. If you wanted to stop by, we could take a road
That'd be
trip
great.
down. And
Yeah,
I was
know.
there when it was all dug up. Not that Sean doesn't probably know more than me, but to save some engineering minutes there.
Yeah, it would be crazy for me to say that I have any idea what to do about
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. But to save some engineering minutes, I'd be more than happy to meet with you and I can show you where stuff is and how it works.
I can be out there anytime on Friday as well, so.
We're saving engineering minutes, Sean.
I'm gonna watch. Damn it. I
I don't know what else we can do besides put sewage in.
I'm gonna be in.
Then you guys can store water
yeah.
with the sewage in a wet season. The only thing you can do is tell the guy, keep repeating,
Just
keep repeating.
I mean, I don't know what you do. You
For
got
what it's costing us to pump that.
what it's costing us to
Make it
fight
count.
these. Yeah, it's great, and yeah, it's nuts. Put sewage in. That fixes everything.
I'll run by tomorrow morning. Somehow.
You see how much water comes out at the upper corner of the Nike site when it's raining?
No.
It's amazing how much runs out of there. And that's where the trunk line comes out.
The top line, the top, right there by the telephone pole?
Yes.
Where the grass is always perfectly green all the time?
Water just blows out of there.
I'm sorry, can you state your name and address?
George Powell, Millville Ram Road.
Thank you.
But, yeah, it just blows out of there. I mean, it's.
So we know what Mr. Barnes is going through.
We've been with him for a long time,
Yeah.
trying to push the sewage, and we're on the doorstep of it.
So if you could just communicate.
Get more water than you guys.
Communicate through the email to all the supervisors, just keep us updated on what we can do and what the engineers are coming up with. Is the board okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, and then, oh shoot. Can we put on the, meeting agenda for next meeting? There was questions here regarding Equitrans versus EQT. And I think we need to have some type of a protocol on our Facebook on who owns each company and what the emergency number is. Because we heard.
They are two separate independent
Yeah.
entities.
So like Lenny's saying, yeah, they were there and it's lickety split, but then when they got there, they couldn't do anything. I don't know what the policemen thought, but maybe the policemen are thinking, what were they going to do? I don't know. But I think we need to have a protocol out there so all the residents feel that they have an avenue. Now, I know that they must be answering because we did it, the DEP used the Nike site for testing for a week, a month or two ago.
Yeah.
So I know they're responding, and that was a result of the Macintosh. So somebody up there is listening to something on the air quality. But I think we need to get that stapled down in our.
Do we have an emergency management plan?
Yes.
No, I mean a plan. We have a written emergency management plan. So is there anything in there about that particular situation?
It just pretty much defines the command structure on how to follow things, that's all. There's nothing about,
That particular
1-800 number. That's a problem with their facility, not us.
But evacuation purposes for the residents, there's
Right,
nothing.
that is in there, like where the evacuation points in that are.
So what I'll do is, in addition to speaking with the resident who had that primary concern, parsing all of this out so everyone has the clear information on protocol, as part of that, I'll make sure once that protocol is discovered that it goes on our website, the numbers go on our website, on Facebook, things like that, so that residents are aware of what they should do. Everyone's first thing should be to call 911. Then we'll figure it out from there.
If we just, thank you for that, let's put it on the agenda so everyone can have a thorough time to discuss and deliberate and add or subtract. And then, Oh, I also wanted to see if the board feels amenable to it. There is also debate on the stenographer issue. I know that we did look into it in past years with Sweat's office, and we were told, that wasn't allowable under the second-class township code. We had heard some different things here tonight, but that's up to the board. If you want to add that as an agenda item to consider that, please, someone, anybody speak up.
I don't think we need any more expenses.
No, because
We got enough expenses.
Okay, well, if anybody changes their mind, please feel free to add to the agenda. This is a 5-member board. Everyone can participate in any agenda items that they feel fit. Please feel comfortable to do that. And I have nothing else.
I have one thing. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
That sounds good. I'll
I got a
second
second.
that.
Go
Okay, you got
got
it.
it.
Who seconded? Dave.
Yes.
Yes.